Oh, oh man, that song, guys. Ah, oh, give me some more Teddy theme. Oh man. Civ 6 music for the win. Speaking of Civ 7 music, holy cow. Guys, welcome in. We are doing a very fun stream today. And hang on while I just tweak a couple last things. We're doing a very fun stream today with Ursa Ryan. So, of course, yes, Bob, as you're saying, let me... Hang on, I'm tweaking so many things. There we go. Welcome in, Twitch. Welcome in, YouTube. Good to see you. Things are a little actually bright today. There we go. So, today, the modern era reveal of Civ 7. I wanted to do a live stream of this. I'm taking a quick little lunch break to be able to jump into this kind of stuff. And I knew Ursa Ryan was also going to be doing his. And I know he's also live. We'll be actually joining each other here in a little bit and reacting together. He wanted to say hi to his community. I'm going to say hi to my community. So welcome in, guys. Let me know. How's your day going? Who's excited to see this modern era, huh? I know I am. Bob, welcome in. Sorry for the accidental troll. Yeah, it happens. When you see a YouTube thumbnail and you're used to YouTube thumbnails being it's a video you can watch right now, it's kind of funny when you see a thumbnail for a live stream that's like 5 days later. So, welcome in, Ace. Welcome in. Sorry, I do not want to mispronounce the name. Nayaru? I'll say the condensed version, maybe. Maybe that was correct. Welcome in, guys. Yeah, who does that? Who comes into a Discord and makes a streamer freak out thinking that he missed a very big thing about a live stream he was trying to do with another streamer? So, well, the Modern Era stream does start, of course, over at the Firaxis live stream. That starts at 1, so we have a good 20 minutes just to chat, to see how everyone's doing, to make some predictions for the Modern Era. In terms of what's actually revealed so far on civilizations, they have all of the exploration, all the antiquity civs, but all it says here on this part of the website is Mexico. Of course, there's like 7, I think at least 7 civs we know about. But who posts a live stream days in advance? True. For big events, it's fair. For sure. For sure. For sure. See, I posted on Twitter, I posted on Discord. Sorry, I'm going through my process, my thoughts. Yeah, Aru was fine? Fantastic. Welcome in, welcome in. So yeah, there's been a bunch going on with... If you've been paying attention to Ursa Ryan's channel, he's been pumping out some great content lately. I have not been pumping out nearly as much content. There's a few things I've been working full-time, as well as bartending, so that is a little bit slowed down at the moment. But in the meantime, Ursa Ryan's been doing some fantastic takes on some of my ideas from not only the Russia and Lavra combo, which is one of the best videos on my channel, but also having a lot of fun with Golden Gate Bridge after our Civ Give tussle. And I'm proud to say that we revealed something to him that he did not know about Civ 6 and has been having a blast jumping into and diving into, which has been absolutely a ton of fun. So that's been super cool to see. He's doing a Golden Gate Bridge, how much tourism can you get in one single city type of challenge. And based off of screenshots he sent me, it's pretty high. In Civ Give, we were able to get about 2,000 tourism per turn, primarily from a single city, in a multiplayer game with 10 other players, meaning we are getting like 10 tourists a turn, which was fantastic. Which means I was speeding to that victory. Of course, he did have a tech, and somehow everyone decided that I was the big bad that needed to get taken down, and not Ursa Ryan, who was at war with literally everyone the entire game. So that's how that went. And I tried to focus too much on the anti-air and a couple of failed wars instead of really hunkering down and saving that one city, which is where Ursa Ryan punished me. So that was fun. That was a lot of fun though. So. Nobody wants to lose to a culture victory. Hey, you're gonna listen to my pop music and wear my blue jeans, okay, Bob? Civ 5, dude. Civ 5. It's funny how the pop music and blue jeans was such an iconic thing in Civ 5, because in Civ 5, when you became culturally dominant over someone, you got a comment from the person saying, "Hey, my people are listening to your pop music and wearing your blue jeans," but it was the same comment for every single civilization, and that's what everyone said every single time you went for a civ game or a culture game, and you got that message multiple times, so it just became an icon of culture victory in Civ 5, right? And then Civ 6 introduced blue jeans as a luxury item, a unique luxury that you can only get from a merchant, and then of course pop music turned into the rock bands and broadcast towers and great works of music. There was already great works of music, but they kind of developed into that a little bit more for Civ 6, which was funny. You're American, I already do it and speak your language. True. Yeah, the American language. Yeah. Not the English. So, but yeah, today should be fun. Today should be fun. I've been actually going through and watching a bunch of Ursa Ryan's Civ 7 content to try to refresh myself about what has all been going on. Ursa Ryan has had some very interesting takes, very good takes, by the way, about Civ 7, what he thinks is coming, some predictions that he made based off of things he knows, and some predictions he made based off of not off the things he knows, which has been funny to go through, accent included. Hey, the film studio. The American film studio, 100% tourism in the modern era. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. And I actually, in CivGive, had the film studio working, which was fantastic, but we didn't get to Wish You Were Here, which is another 100% tourism, which apparently doubles the double of the tourism. It's not like 200%, 100% plus 100%, it doubles. So it's like 4x. Which is really funny, something Ursa Ryan found out. So you should definitely be watching his Golden Gate Bridge video that comes out. He had one video that came out yesterday. I plugged it in our own Discord, and then he has another video that's going to be coming out probably today. Will be, if not tomorrow. So that sounds really exciting. I just said I'd check out Ursa Ryan's channel, see what he's doing. He's got some Christmas cheer going right now.
Guest, the wonderful subject of my current guilt trip, whiteandnerdytv, the infamously wonderful player on the CivGive, the master of preserves in Golden Gate Bridge, the absorber of nukes. See if he's free. So we can chat to him imminently, and he can join us this evening. Oh, he's actually watching the chat. There we go. I'm assuming you're going to be free then. give me a call whenever you're free on Discord, and I'll pop you in.
Cool, sounds good.
Oh dear, but it should be good. Tonight's stream should be like a lot of fun. It should be a lot of fun. We should be receiving some good information, some wonderful information about the modern age. I was so impressed with White and Nerdy, I became a fanboy. I did, it's true.
Hey guys, I need you to jump in on this.
Hello there, can you hear me?
Yes, hey, how's it going?
Hey, it's good. And I'm hoping
I jumped into your stream.
I've just been discussing that I've become very much a bit of a fanboy of your play.
I might have heard that. I did take an extra second to get it here because I was laughing about that. I had opened
Yeah,
up your stream just to see how things were going, and it just was right when you started talking about me, and it was like, oh, this is perfect timing. Perfect timing.
Absolutely. We're going to turn you up a tiny bit. Yeah, no, it was... I still... That play, it left an impression on me and on a lot of my audience. And actually, we've got a highlight video of that whole stream coming out soon, so people will be able to really, truly experience the...
Oh, that's fantastic. I was watching back one of your previous live streams, and you mentioned you were editing the CivGive live stream down into a video, which is fantastic, right?
Yes.
I am very excited for that. I haven't been able to actually like watch through the entire your perspective yet, and it's been funny. Every time you're like, nerdy, why does the city have 14 combat strength? I think he's asking for it. Caravels.
Absolutely. And so if people haven't seen what we're talking about, this comment has it perfectly. The preserved Golden Gate Bridge built, he pulled was pretty sick indeed. It was like 800 tourism from a single city. No, 800 sells it very much short. I think you were at 1,700?
It was at 1,800 on the turn that you raised it, because we saw my tourism for my entire empire was at 2,000 per turn, which is enough to gain 10 tourists per turn, assuming all 10 players were still in the game. Actually, Zon was full killed, so that actually meant I was gaining less tourists than I should have been. It dropped from 2,000 tourism per turn to 200, which means one city had 1,800 tourism, and the rest of the cities, which had a couple of great works here and there, and a couple of ski resorts, and a couple of those things. Like it's funny because I've learned, and I've talked to you about this before, is prioritizing. If you have a limited faith game, prioritizing your national parks in your Reina forestry management city because the high appeal, and that just doubles down so far when it comes to Golden Gate Bridge, and it's so funny.
And I'm glad that your Magnificence did have a limitation there, because I don't think we would have survived more than about 8 turns left of you having that tourism in the game, because my culture was plateauing. I was only able to push it up so much, and you were beginning to claw that in every turn. I'd done the moon landing. I think you were taking Namadol off me. Kamasi was being taken from me. It was all going wrong. So I think it only would have been a small amount of time. But we must press forward, because tonight we've got an exciting stream to watch, haven't we? Modern Age.
Yeah, we get to look forward from Civ 6 towards Civ 7 now.
I know. And so I hope they make nuclear countermeasures available on Civ 7. I'm hoping we find out about nuclear measures full stop.
Oh, for sure. They have to talk about nukes. You can't talk about the modern era without talking about nukes. It's got to be a thing.
Because we've seen nukes in at least a couple of the videos, right? In at least one of the shorts or one of the gameplay trailers. I swear we've seen nukes. We
have, yeah. No, in their reveal trailer, it was there. They definitely had it. And I think it was funny because there was no background. It was literally just the city and getting nuked. And there's a few elements that they had that were definitely works in progress, where it's there was no background or this or that. And it's funny because I remember seeing what I believe looked like the redwoods as a natural wonder. It looks like it, it's some type of natural wonder that was big trees. And this is early, so I didn't know if this was a display of different types of vegetation, or if it was a natural wonder, or what it was. But I think with everything we know now,
I don't remember seeing the redwood on the list that I saw, but that was a very early list.
I
didn't know if I was seeing the
definitely
whole thing.
Not something that's announced. It is an Easter egg that I saw in the first first trailer.
So this is the thing. This is why I rely
on
the community so much. Yeah, you see things. You see things that I don't. But we should find out a lot about that. Yeah, so the anti-nuclear laws and surface defense systems in 4. Well, obviously there was nuclear measures in 5, anti-air in 5. We've had nuclear measures in 6, anti-air in 6. The anti-air for nukes in 6 wasn't particularly strong.
Yeah, we learned. Just quite recently.
Very easily.
Dude, it was so funny because I put so much time. You can't really practice the nuclear defense thing in Civ. No. You can just get really comfortable with the tech pushes and timings and all that kind of stuff. But I had in all of my cities, each city had 3 anti-air guns in it together, because I know anti-air adds support bonuses to each other, but it still was not even close to enough to stop it. I didn't know
I
that
think there's
until
a
afterwards.
calculation that goes against the bombard strength of the bomber. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe, unfortunately, the bomber that was being used at the time had the promotion that hits land units better. And I think that actually stacks with the anti-air because it counts as if it's attacking a land unit when the anti-air comes into play.
Is that why you didn't nuke the city directly? You nuked the tile next to it?
So that it hit the unit, yeah. Absolutely.
Oh!
With that, and I thought you'd have less anti-air around the back as well, but I've noticed that you have a lot more success if it's on a unit, because all those promotions stack that probably shouldn't stack. They work on boats as well. The bomber promotion that lets you attack boats actually works on anti-air as well if you're attacking a battleship or a missile cruiser or something like that. It's really weird. I don't know if these things are useful. Yeah, bomber promotions are useful.
Isn't it funny that we have, probably over 5,000 hours of Civ collectively, and like there's still like mechanics all the time that we're like, what?
I actually think it's worse for me. Hang on,
yours is really high, isn't it?
7,002 hours. Yeah, 7,000.
Oh, okay, yeah. So,
but infamously to this day, yeah, bomber promotions I barely use because I find bombers need to be attacking every turn. I can never be bothered to promote them, so I often just save them for when they've taken a bit of anti-air damage and I can't be bothered to heal them.
Absolutely.
Short of playing Gran Colombia, but yeah, it's just one of those things. Since we have commanders and armies, perhaps a modern commander having a buff against nukes. Well, I think the leading theory is that we're going to have an air commander as the special commander for the modern age. So we've had land in antiquity. We've had navy, an admiral in explorations. I think we might get like an ace pilot or a form of air commander in... Well, I wouldn't be surprised if we have that in modern age. I might be wrong, but that seems to be where the leading thoughts are going on that.
That's interesting. I like that. I think if Firaxis didn't do that, maybe they should think about doing that.
Absolutely.
That's pretty
and
awesome.
There is always the risk as well. We might see a return to Civ 5 levels of AI being able to use planes ruthlessly, which may make this a lot trickier as well.
Yeah, and the fact that generally speaking, the Civ 7 like DD game is probably going to go way more smoothly, where there's like less micro special, like all the specialists and city and the district placement and all that kind of stuff that kind of trips up the AI pretty easily, which a lot of that is streamlined in Civ 7, where that might just make DD just better and harder to catch up to, and it's going to be really interesting. I'm so excited for Civ 7. I think you've done a really good job of highlighting your excitement and the reasons why you're excited for different things in Civ 7. And
that's it. And I definitely reading through chat, obviously some people are still a little bit concerned about aspects of it with the age system, with the removal of builders, but I think there's a whole chunk of complexity to get into here. And I think what you were saying before about Civ 6, the fact that we played it for 10,000 hours between us and we still miss mechanics. Like I'm only just finding out about Golden Gate through you after 7,000 hours, right? I think Civ 7 is going to take this to a new level in terms of a very simple game to get your head around at the beginning and an impossible game to learn the intricacies of when you really get, beyond skin deep into it. That's what I'm hoping.
Oh yeah, I think every Civ game is going to be like that. Depending on who you're playing with, you're gonna, you could feel like the best player in the world of playing against, your friends, and then you jump into, a lobby with a bunch of other Civ creators. You're like, oh wait, maybe not, and then you jump into like the people that do competitive leagues and stuff, and you're like, oh, maybe not again. And just there's so much
different than I thought. Yeah, absolutely. We got some good questions coming in, actually. Will Civ 7 games be quicker on average than Civ 6? From my impression, they were very similar, to be honest with you. You get more turns in a game of Civ 7, but the absence of builders really did save time. So, I mean, we had about 3.5 hours, and we did get through the entire age. So, if you rushed, you probably could do it in like 7 hours, 8 hours, a whole game from start to finish, which isn't too far off.
The focus on reducing of micro decisions, especially late game stuff, and like especially with like commanders being able to grab armies together and move them as one unit. And there's so much quality of life in coming in Civ 7. I'm really excited for it.
There really is. I think, honestly, it's going to play really well for multiplayer as well. I think the game is going to move quicker on a turn-to-turn basis, and there's going to be more focus on the sort of more grand economy and moving military units around, especially with commanders. So I am feeling positive.
Yeah,
positive about it. I think it should be good.
It's always fair to be hesitant before you actually try something, but I definitely want to like the whole Civ switching was something that I was hesitant at first, and now I'm at the point where it's like, this is actually how you should run a Civ game. This is awesome. You can get, obviously assuming with the roadmap of DLC, you can get so granular with how many civilizations and cultures you can represent, and even the differences between them, like the differences between, if you're talking about like, the Holy Roman Empire versus Germany or Prussia, or you can talk about like very specific empires that might have not had like a very like big touch on history as a whole, but maybe had a really big influence in a specific time, which affected other civilizations and things like that. So I think it's really interesting. We talked in my chat about a lot of different small kingdoms you could represent through the new age system, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah, because Civ has always had this problem, right, where you can play America and you can play them from 4000 BC. It's totally unrealistic and always has been. They were, famously only came into the world much later. But ultimately, I think as people have found more about the Civ switching, you realize how much of a Civ actually does linger after an age disappears. You still have all of the social policies you unlock. You've obviously got all of the unique infrastructure. So you do lose bits and pieces, but a lot of the flavor and the actual mechanics of the Civ you are playing stick around. And I think that's going to give people a feeling of retention that maybe they're worried about losing.
Yeah, you've been really good at highlighting a few of those, like that specific point, especially where it's one of those where it's like, I think Firaxis coped. I think we're okay.
Yeah. We should be fine.
Do you have any last minute? Sorry, I was asking if you have any last minute predictions for this live stream before it starts.
Last minute predictions, yes. Even in chat, I want to see who you think the leader's going to be. I don't know. I actually don't know about this extra leader. We know. I think Ben Franklin. We know. Hopefully, we'll see some stuff about nukes. Hopefully, we'll see some stuff about planes. Maybe if there's a power system like we had in Civ 6, that would be cool. But mainly, I want to know what's happening with Railroad.
Yes,
that's my big one.
The Railroad.
Everything is like, yeah.
Well, speaking of railroads, I think you're going to be really excited when you finally play Mongolia, because those Ordos that restore movement are basically going to be pseudo railroads for your conquest early on, which is going to be really fun.
Yeah, I think that's going to be hilariously fun. It's going to be like, oh yeah, you want to get off this continent because Mongolia are here. And they will ruin it. They will ruin it. Just leave. It's better if you go. We've got Frida Kahlo, possibly Pedro. Maybe Alanis Morissette for Canada. There we go. We had Justin Bieber as an alternative one. I think both choices.
That's
for
great.
Canada.
I think Canada is probably going to be a DLC Civ, because they did announce Mexico, which is awesome to have a Mexican modern civilization.
Yeah.
And
I still think there's going to be a whole other DLC for a fourth age. I'm still.
I like that take. I think because every Civ game, they did expand. Like Civ 6, like it used to end at going to Mars, right? And then they expanded, and then they added future government and future techs, and like took on with Gathering Storm, they took on all the extra near future technologies that are currently in the works nowadays, but not actually fully fleshed out or figured out, like fusion being a big one, and of course carbon capture and a bunch of different things. And I think that's really, really interesting.
Yeah,
every Civ game is technically released in the future compared to the previous Civ game. So it only makes sense that each Civ game will go a little further, and I think it's going to be interesting. So if your prediction of the modern era ends at like the Cold War, end of World War II or and that kind of stuff, then it's a good chance. It's a really good chance.
I think it'll be interesting. So chat, keep an eye out as you're watching this reveal. We want to see what the latest historical point is that we can see. What tech, what building, what reference is being made to as far a date as possible. Because we want to get this dated as well as possible. I'm still thinking. But anyway, it's about to start. We'll see what happens. See how we go. I'm very excited.
Same.
Very excited.
Oh, you know what? I didn't see the cinematic.
Or did you not?
I didn't.
It's very good.
I somehow missed this announcement about the cinematic and never got around to watching it. I was going to live react to it. Here we are.
As I'm not putting the music onto the right chat.
Celebrate our triumphs.
There we go.
And bury our regrets.
Should be able to hear it now.
That was sick.
What's he
That was
done?
a sick transition.
Renounce your ways.
No, Ursa, we must fight.
Every age has its secrets. In
Oh, I love
each
that.
layer of history, we can rediscover hope. A way to chart our future.
Oh, there's that new wonder.
Countless stories are carved into the Earth's strata. The lessons.
Yeah, this is
one
Gwendolyn Christie.
age
This is the
alter
narrator.
The next.
She's so good.
Definitely not Mongolia, this.
We must learn from our past.
The parallels of time. The human condition. I love it.
The future is waiting.
Or do we think that's a rocket or a nuke?
That looks like going to space, going to the moon. That looks like the Apollo mission. I love that trailer because there's so many parallels.
Hey Civ fans, it's Sarah, your CM here. Thanks so much for joining us today for this live stream. We have shown you antiquity, we've shown you exploration, and now we are super stoked to show you the modern age today. We've got 2 new first looks to show you, one for Benjamin Franklin and one for a surprise leader we're really excited to show off. And we're also going to be diving into some modern age mechanics as well. And to speak to it all, I'm joined by Ed Beach, our creative director. Ed, in a couple words, how are you feeling about the modern age?
This is, I mean, I was really excited for the exploration age save, but this is another level. This is the end of our story. We have a 3-chapter story that we've been telling. This is where it all comes to
He's
a big
excited.
conclusion.
Look at him.
And you said we have a few
Can't help
mechanics to
himself.
show. We have a lot of mechanics to show.
The
modern
rage
age
shout.
is packed with content, packed with new systems. So I hope everyone's ready for quite a few explanations and some deep dives into things over the next couple hours.
We have 2 hours to do it, and we will try to get through as much as we can.
2
I'm also
hours, there we
joined
go.
by our Carl Berrien Harrison,
be a 2 hour
our lead
stream.
designer. He joins us
Berrien.
yet again from paternity leave. So Carl, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Can't keep
On
himself
a
away.
scale, using Civ difficulties, how are you feeling about parenthood?
I'm going to put it at an immortal, not quite deity. There are certainly deity level hard days, but there's a lot of ones that are much nicer. Just this morning as I was coming
He's being
in for the
rushed by
stream, my
warriors.
son was smiling at me and giving me all kinds of cute looks. So
Young
days like
toddler
that are-
warriors.
Nice. Well, from us at Firaxis, and obviously a lot of our players too, we just say congratulations to you. Don't forget, you have another opportunity today to earn that Twitch drop. So all you have to do is watch for 15 minutes and be sure to link your 2K account as well.
Right, I gotta open my Twitch now.
Exploration Age banner, which is really cool to use in the game. You can use it in places like the multiplayer lobby or the load screen. And just as a reminder, Civ 7 will not come with microtransactions nor loot boxes. These are just really cool ways to customize your profile.
No loot boxes.
And you could use this new banner.
So nice to say.
On February 11th, 2025, which is right around the corner. You can even play it earlier if you pre-order February 6. And remember that we're coming out day and date for PC and console. That's crossplay and
awesome.
cross-save day 1 too, which is really, really incredible.
Well, did that come in the
last
Founders
plugin, we just showed the collector's edition items. So for those Civ fans that really like the physical merch, that's a really cool edition to check out. So definitely do so. So what to expect from this live stream? We talked about it a little bit. We're going to be showing off some first looks. We're going to be showing off some modern age mechanics. Ed, what are some of maybe those mechanics that we might see on the stream?
So remember that in each of our ages, we have legacy paths, which are how you build up your reputation in various parts of the game, whether it's science or culture or military or economics. We'll be showing you what those are like in the military, in the modern age. We're also going to show how the game ends. So the legacy paths have been sort of how you score points as you go through the game up until now. But that's not the way we want a proper Civ game to end. So we'll be explaining that, and we'll go into what a victory
we'll see an
is
actual
all about as well.
Victory in this now, which is good.
I'm glad they're not going for like a point system.
I know fans out there who are really excited for us to show off railroads. We'll get to those. We'll show you how the revolution works, and we'll get into all the crazy additions to combat in terms of air power and what that looks like.
Air power, revolution, okay.
Nice.
You can feel free to leave some questions in chat for the
I feel like he's seen my drawings on the matter. I made my interest quite clear.
You know he did.
But without further ado, why don't we start off with that first look for that surprise leader I mentioned?
Oh.
Harriet Tubman. Oh, okay.
I don't know her.
She's huge in American Black history. Led a lot of slaves to freedom.
Born Araminta Ross to enslaved parents in Maryland, Harriet Tubman escaped from slavery and dedicated her life to saving countless others via the Underground Railroad. Facing difficult odds,
Underground
Tubman
Railroad, I've heard of that.
enslaved peoples through a network of safe houses and across treacherous terrain to reach freedom.
Definitely an alternate leader idea, but really interesting.
Excels at operating in secret, which makes her an excellent spy master.
Okay, another spy leader. Love it.
She has the resilience to persevere. In the modern age, consider pairing Harriet Tubman with America, whose production bonuses help you build towards a better
Interesting. Multiple leaders for America already.
All your own. But whatever you
Statue
build,
of Liberty we've seen before. America being an industry civ kind of checks out.
I love the fireworks and the confetti. Wait, so the Wonder animations early have confetti and later they have fireworks? That's cool.
Our first look for Harriet Tubman. Ed, can you tell us a little bit about why Harriet Tubman for Civ 7?
Harriet Tubman is a leader choice that's sort of near and dear to our heart at Firaxis Games. Firaxis is
there's the Maryland connection there.
And if you look at historical figures from the state of Maryland, Harriet Tubman's right at the top of the list. So she was born on the eastern shore of Maryland across the Chesapeake Bay from Baltimore and Annapolis. And over on the eastern shore, there was a lot of slaveholding plantations. She was born on one of those in an enslaved status. It wasn't until she reached somewhere between 25 and 30 that she was able to figure out a way. She was about to be sold off to another family. She didn't want to go through that. She escaped. She made it to Pennsylvania. It was a dramatic moment in her life. She was actually across that state line and in Union territory and safe from enslavement. And she made the decision that she was going to go back home. She went back home 13 times to pull more of her family members out, get them to freedom into the North. So she's a local hero for us. She's a local hero for the whole state of Maryland. And we can bring some interesting, brand new type of gameplay through this type of leader that we maybe wouldn't have had with a political leader. So just like Machiavelli and Confucius and some of the other leaders that we've shown, she's a great representation of how
Definitely
not
stepping away
having
from
those
heads of
political
state. I do like that.
gives us a chance to
Absolutely.
go in a really interesting direction.
That's awesome. Yeah,
You would
are
only
so
see her as like
excited,
maybe
I
a
think, to
great
represent
person
Harriet
previously,
in
so
this
this is
game,
interesting.
And also to show off her really cool abilities as well. And I know we've talked just on the subject of leaders. We are close to launch at this point. We have revealed the full number of civs, I think in a previous panel, as 31 civs, which is the most civs to ever come at launch with a civ game, which is awesome. I don't think that we have yet revealed the number for leaders. So why don't we talk numbers right now?
No, you haven't.
Like I said, at launch, 31 civs, and our leader count will be 26 at launch.
26
including five
leaders.
personas,
Okay.
Which I think at one
Wow.
point we had mentioned that this was the most leaders as well for a Civ game. Some of our eagle-eyed Civ historians were pointing out that this makes us tied with Civ 4's roster at launch, which also very impressive roster for Civ 4. But I know that we're really proud of the leaders that we put in this game and the depth that I think we're
They're
able
much
to
more
go into
diverse
with
than in
each of
Civ
them,
4 as well, in
including the
terms of
personas as well.
abilities
So
and
we're super
mechanics.
excited to show those
So,
off.
but this pretty much
go
confirms
ahead
not
and
only
let's load up some
alternate
gameplay
leader
as well.
personas, but also multiple leaders per civilization
So Carl's
as well,
going to be driving
which is
today, but
awesome.
this is actually a game that I started playing. I was
Oh, he's taking
aware
credit.
that we were going to do a couple different saves that we are going to show today.
Carl
so I
doesn't want the
wanted
credit
to
for his
go ahead
city
and help us
placement.
out by getting a Harriet Tubman game set up. And I had to choose my pathway through history like you always do in Civ 7. And I was trying to think about how would Harriet Tubman make sense evolving towards an American Civ, because we knew we wanted to end with showing American gameplay. And she's a leader that automatically unlocks America. So I thought about her heritage and where she had come from. Her grandmother had been one of those enslaved people who was transported from West Africa to the United States. And so I thought, well, maybe I can somehow represent her West African heritage somehow with my gameplay in this game. So I thought, well, that's probably the Songhai Empire in exploration.
Songhai.
Bonus, get great bonuses from Navigable River. They pair really well with Egypt. So I started with Egypt. My capital was
Egypt into
Wasset,
Songhai into America.
in the
Strange,
top of the map that
but I
Carl's
love
showing
it.
you, on this really cool lake with a navigable river that's spilled out to the sea.
It looks like he's been
but
forward settled there
let
on
me
the
point
left,
out,
though.
this was actually
Look at that.
the first
Oh,
time
no.
I started a game
We need
as
loyalty.
Egypt in Harriet Tubman. I actually was pretty confident I could go on immortal difficulty, get a game up and going. It would proceed without a problem, without a hitch, and we'd get right to the live screen. That was not the case. I went into that game, saw some great navigable rivers, sent my settlers out there. Immediately, those spots were contested by the AIs nearby. I had multiple AIs going for those rivers. I did not get there. I got smacked back, and I actually had to restart. So this is Ed's
okay.
game
They're showing
number
off
2.
oil.
This is
There's a
better
lot of oil in
timeline
the
than
desert.
that right
This
now.
is a
There's
way
a lot
better
of oil.
timeline. I actually
Definitely
had such a
interesting. We can
nice,
also see the leaders up
setup
there, as
with
people
these,
are saying. We've got
multiple navigable rivers.
America,
I was in
Mexico,
such a strong place,
China,
by
maybe
the end of
Siam,
antiquity, that I actually had
Mongol,
3
India, and
different opponents
France.
declare war on me
I think we
within
knew
the
about
first 10
France
turns of
before, so
exploration.
nothing there that's
and so
too
Carl, why don't you show
revealing.
us what one of Harriet Tubman's abilities is?
1750 CE, by the way. Turn 1.
Yes.
Sounds good. So Harriet
Yes.
Tubman's
If you want
ability is
a
called Conflict
specific
Invade.
year for the
She gets
dawn of the
extra
modern
influence
age.
towards espionage actions, and then additional war support on wars declared against her.
So
War
basically,
support
don't
is
declare
how
war
you,
on her.
impose
You will get
war
so much war
penalties
weariness.
on other players. And so getting 5 free war
Here's
support
America.
is a huge bonus when
Get
other people
gold
declare
every
war
time
on
you
you.
get a resource. Nice, but look
And
at
the
the
last bit,
290
you
gold per
ignore
turn.
movement penalties from
100's not a
vegetation.
huge amount.
That's really
I'm
useful
intrigued
all
to
the
see if
time,
that gets
whether it's your
balanced.
military units. I thought
Interesting.
that
Yeah, I
I was
think
gonna
I
have
think
to do that
numbers
there,
are
get those
are
navigable
not going to be
rivers
locked down for a
claimed
while.
as my early
No.
settling,
Prospect,
but it wasn't to be in
did
the
you see
first
that?
game, it was only in the second
There's a
game, right?
prospect
Oh,
civilian
unit?
unit for America.
Did you see what it said?
So now we're in the third age.
It does
So I've been
prospecting.
talking about sort of the game as it evolved through those first 2 ages.
No, I didn't.
We'll get more into exactly what happened with the Songhai. But we are on turn 1 of the modern age, and so just like we showed in
So
the
this
Exploration
is
Age
the roller that
live
we've
stream
seen
about how
before.
exploration's
Hey,
And you
thanks,
can see
Snap.
again, all of your
legacies that
cities
you've
become towns
established
apart from your
gameplay
capital,
in the first
unless
two
you
ages.
take
We have legacies
the
here,
card.
and Carl's gonna
We've
walk
seen
us
that
through
before.
some of our
I'm probably gonna run that
Yep,
card
so we,
a lot.
you're choosing our
Every
legacy
time.
options from the points that you had earned, and we can see that you have
Tap
3
the
economic
source, 2
points
gold
and
per turn
3
for
science
unique
points.
resources. That doesn't
And for the
seem
most
like a
you can earn
huge
in those
amount.
categories,
Again,
which means you completed those legacy paths. You have 0 points in cultural, though, Ed, which means that you didn't make any progress there.
Dear Ed. Ed.
Pretty much for that.
Immediately flaming him.
I'm a big player, but
Ed.
not in this game. I was very focused
Science and gold.
gameplay and using
Yeah,
Songhai's unique ability to get treasure fleets from navigable river cities.
Less inflated number,
That was
true.
a
like the
big
cultural Dark
boon
Age, though. So
towards,
Dark Age is
without
confirmed
having a
if you
huge
do get
overseas
0
empire,
points.
I was still able to finish that economic path.
Sure, and then even speaking of religion, we can see that there are some religious symbols on our cities here in the
Yeah,
background.
all your cities
So
from
it
previous
is still
remain
around
cities.
here.
You're gonna
Some-
almost always want that
some-
card.
Because
He's
you
not
got
happy
no
with that.
progress in the cultural legacy path, you did hit a cultural dark age. So we have this option available to us, cultural dark age, which all dark age options give you
Dark
a
ages are
huge
separated
boost
into
to
each
that
individual victory type?
or
Yep,
excuse
and
me,
you can
legacy
choose
path
them if
type
you like.
in the next
Nice.
at some kind of penalty. The other penalty that comes with them is
Minus
that they
50%
consume
influence
all
is
of your
bad
other
with this
points.
leader
So if we were
choice,
to
though.
select this, we can see that it zeroes out all of our points.
I can see that,
here. They're
yeah.
all spent on this option. That's a big switch
Oh.
from picking lots of small
So you
individual bonuses. to this
can't
really big,
spend your
chunky
stuff
thing that
on
might really
anything
revolutionize our
else if you
gameplay.
take the Dark Age,
We
though.
are not going to pick
It's an
this
all or
today. Just
nothing.
wanted to show that. Instead, we're going to keep
Oh.
those points and we're going to start assigning them out.
I don't
to,
know. You showed
the
off
different
monasticism
options
pretty
we have
good on
here.
Civ
we're
Games,
gonna
so.
get some attribute
Yep.
points. You did get the Treasure Fleet Golden Age because you completed that path. I don't want that one there. We're going to go with resources and an economic point. And that's because
I mean,
you
you're
don't
gonna have
you
a
can
lot of
retain your
resources.
universities. Look at that.
You got the economic one.
3
and
science
the
per
science
turn
one.
for each
The
quarter
science
is
one lets
huge.
your universities
Actually, no,
stay
quarters would be
active
they're
and
the double
relevant in this
improved,
new
aren't
age,
they?
which would give
Okay,
us
that might not be
not
as
2, but
good. I was
3
thinking
active
building for a
science
second.
buildings, which is huge. So we're going to go ahead and pick that.
You should
And
have a
then
good
we
amount
wanna
of those,
move our
though.
Capital. And you talked about that you started founding some cities
that's
over
two
in
different
the,
eras,
in the
too.
New World. Timbuktu
Yeah.
is one that you've put out in the ocean, makes a really good midway point. So we're going to choose Timbuktu as our new capital, and that will upgrade
Oh,
to
Washington.
Everyone having
says-
the power to move
Remember
capitals
those
is
words
so
that
interesting
cross
to me.
wherever there are
It's really
artifacts
cool.
and
36
explorers.
population
They're gonna
again. You
come
can
up
see
in
that
just a
this is
moment
the
when we talk
power
about the
of
cultural
towns
legacy path
and how
in
much
modern.
food they throw into your capital.
I
We're
was
going to see
actually
some
able
really
to do well
big
in the science
cities.
victory in the previous age, which is the Enlightenment legacy path, because you can see I
16
had a lot of Egyptian
settlement
wonders,
cap as well. So you can see
in
people are
both
worried
my
about
main
the game not being
cities.
particularly wide.
Also
16
great
cities is
adjacency
wider than a lot of
bonuses
people
from some of
play.
those navigable
That's
river and
no, that's
coastal
super nice.
tiles.
That's super good to
And
call
so
out
that's how
because like
you win
yeah,
Enlightenment
16
with
cities.
very, very powerful individual
Yeah.
urban tiles.
Like,
with
that's gonna be-
large
that's gonna be
adjacency bonuses,
hard to
and,
fill,
that worked out
which is
very well.
awesome.
What a rogue
So you
capital.
can see Washington, D.C. over
So
there.
wait,
Yeah,
that's
so
actually really
former
interesting. When you
Timbuktu
change
has
civilizations,
now
you can move capital to the
rebranded
other
itself.
continent,
Yep.
and all your
So,
new city. Like
we're
it
ready to
literally,
start
you
making
can
some
make it
choices here at the
feel a
start
lot
of the
more
game.
of
So
my
let's go ahead and dive
civilizations
into
over
our
here now.
country.
Especially if your
Yep.
previous cities had conquered, and like now you're
And as
literally
we
a
can see our
different
tech tree
civilization
here,
in
Here's
a
the
different
tree.
land.
Here's the tree. Industrialization with
Electricity.
modern
So if you
armor,
look very
aerodynamics.
closely at our screen before, you
Planes
can see that
are
the
kind
modern
of
age starts
near the end.
Industrialization.
1750.
Rocketry.
Yeah.
So that's just at the point in time where monarchy.
It
monarchies
seems,
are trying to challenge
Right, so it's
and,
literally just the advent of
crumbling under the
rocketry
pressure
and
of
What?
the
the age
Revolution,
ends.
or the American Revolution. We're
Holy
really
cow, you're
moving
right.
towards the
Yeah.
modern nation state
So that
with
definitely
big,
means like the game
large
probably ends
national
at the moon
armies.
landing,
The
right?
time of
Like
Napoleon
probably just
is
satellite and
just
then moon
about
landing. They might have
us.
some. They might actually have
And
some
so we're
other
gonna
things
start
in there,
there
right? That are
early
like
in the 19th
preliminary
century
to the actual
and move
satellite.
towards the back half of the 19th
Maybe.
century, where we have the Industrial Revolution kicking in. So you can see at the bottom of our tech tree, we have industrialization,
Beginning of the Industrial
above that
Revolution.
combustion,
Okay.
above that urbanization. These are
Rail
all the
station.
sort of later
There it is.
19th century technologies that are really going to change the
It
way
upgrades any
commerce
roads
happens, what we're going to be
that have a
doing with
rail
our
station into
resources. We'll see
railroads.
that very soon.
Automatically.
And it
Oh,
lets you
right.
teleport
Factories and railroads
between
are gonna
rail
become
stations.
crucially
So it's like
important.
Mongolia's
But there's
building.
a lot more to the modern age after
Oh.
that. This is just a chock full of content age.
That's so good.
We have to proceed through the world wars. We have to get to flight.
Oh,
We have
these
to
trees have been
turn The early
expanded a little bit.
Experiments
They're a little more
into
fleshed out than they were
aircraft that are
before.
used for
Yeah,
military
the tech
purposes.
tree seems a little
Eventually, we
small
get
to
the
me, but there's
rocketry.
so
All
much
that's
in
within
the
this age.
cultural trees.
We'd love to have our ages with a big
These leader trees are a lot
climactic
bigger than they were.
conflict between the players where they're really
And that's going to be the
Certainly
idea of the
the-
game. It keeps getting
Exactly.
bigger and bigger and bigger, right?
Really
Yep.
fits that bill very
Yep.
nicely. So
Plus
that's what we
one second, let me
decided.
nip
We
to the bottom
decided we
there.
have so much content. This is the fullest age we have. It's
15%
already
reduction
set up
towards
sort of
military units.
perfectly in terms
Cheeky
of the way
cow.
history lays out. And we're just going to say that's our third age. That's perfect for the end of a civilization game. Now, there's some content after that that players are familiar with. The Cold War kicks in, you know, and obviously history has marched on to the present. That's not something you're going to see in Civ 7 at launch.
Bureaucratic monarchy, elective
Wait,
republic. Oh
did
yeah,
you hear
these
that?
are not
When it's the
Did
right
you hear
modern
that?
systems.
He just confirmed.
We only have 2 hours, but
You're going to
I'm
go to
excited
the
show
Cold
off some of
Age
those
and
things
then,
we talked
or
about,
the
like
Cold
the
War,
factories
and you're
as
not going to see
well.
anything past that on launch.
But
On
first,
launch,
we
there
have
you go.
So you're
We
right.
got it.
They're absolutely going to have a fourth age. They just wanted to do 3 at the
So
start
if we open our Civ
to
tree,
really
we're able to
nail
see what that
down
looks like
the
for modern
3 age, to get the age
Couple
system
of these
right
are
before they
great.
expand it.
The natural history.
That's
is
that's
the
I
civic
approve.
that
That's
lets
cool.
you launch into exploring your past, gets you the explorer unit, who is our unit that's involved with the archaeology system.
Hey, yo,
Similar
Eric.
to Civ 5 and 6, which had archaeology systems, we have one here. It also takes note of where things occurred in previous ages, and there's a recording of that
Awesome.
that's going on in the background, and that information is being dug back up here, sort of by the
13
game
food on
to
a
present
gross
things
of
for
wow.
players.
Holy
Yields
cow,
go
okay.
You have
big.
to research natural history to get into that.
They just need
legacy
like
path.
big fat icons.
What
That's all they
Natural History
need.
does is it lets you build an explorer unit and then send those explorers to either universities that were created during the exploration age or museums that you may have created here in the modern age.
Okay,
And
museums.
those are places where the knowledge of those ancient antiquity civilizations and the exploration age conflicts.
Feels like the
all that
antiquity
is sort of
system is
stored
going
in
to
those
be
universities and
the
museums.
system in this
And that's a
age,
place where an
replacing sort of
explorer can
like
go and
the
figure out
treasure and
where are the
religion
right
systems
places
of the
to
last
dig
age, I think.
to get artifacts
Interesting.
to help towards this cultural
Yeah,
legacy
I
path.
like how much you have to look
And then
backwards
can
as
also
much as you
see
look
in
forward.
Other ways, we just placed one of our new buildings, a grocer, down up here on this floodplains, and that gives us a new narrative event, which if we open up, we can see is talking about discovering an archaeological treasure. And if we look over at that choice, it says the
Why
story
is the
continues.
smiley
You don't-
face a victim of murder?
Victim of
It tells
murder!
us- Exactly. It tells us later on there will be an additional bit of story that comes
That's
up
so
from
funny.
this, and that will
That
come
is
with its
so
own
funny.
choice. Or we can just go ahead and opt
670
out and get a lot of happiness right now. I think we'll go ahead and select to get this archaeological treasure in the future.
Our narrative director, Kat, she put together a really incredible dev diary on this system too, so definitely encourage everybody to go check that out.
Happy murder.
And then looks like we've got some resources.
He has
signed available.
249 happiness
So
right
let's talk
now.
about
So
resources
that
in
feels
this
like a
age.
lot.
Resources have always been divided into
Okay, so
three
they've all
categories: bonus, city, and
refreshed
empire. We'll talk
factory
about those in the
resources,
antiquity
interestingly.
stream. We won't talk about them here because they function the
City,
same
bonus,
way.
and factory.
In the
Interesting.
exploration age, we had a special type of resource.
So all
called
resources
treasure
are
resources.
simplified, but then they
We
actually
do not have treasure
broke it out again.
resources here. Instead,
Yeah.
we have another new category.
It's definitely
what we
getting
call
more
factory
exciting, and the
resources.
bonuses for
Factory
each
resources
resource are
one
way
that will be
higher this age than they
especially
have been
useful
before.
once we hit the
This was
Industrial
100% Monopolies and
and we bring
Corporation
factories
play
online,
tested for
we
this.
want to
Yep,
produce
yep,
manufactured goods out of those factories. The way that works is
Yeah,
your
narratives were
cities and
announced
your
a while ago.
factories have resource slots, just like Carl's showing here. He's filling his resource slots with the city and bonus resources. But once a factory's online, we can take those same slots and fill them with one of these factory goods, and each factory good has a unique bonus that applies empire-wide. The more goods you can pump into that factory, the more
Nice.
times those bonuses will stack
More
up
control.
For you. So some very powerful effects you can get out of that.
This is
and that's
Monopoly's
also gonna
mode, you've
help
called
with
it,
the
yeah.
Yeah,
legacy path that
absolutely.
we're gonna see real soon.
Every single game mode in Civ
Okay.
6 has been a
So
playtest.
the Age Progress screen is set up the same way as it was before with the 4 different legacy paths. The first one we're going to talk about is this Railroad
Ooh,
Tycoon
victory.
path that is about getting the proper factory resources into those towns with factories and
You have to
applying
use
the
rail to
manufacturing
get the
process.
economic victory.
It looks like, oh my goodness.
We know
to get
Ursa
the-
Ryan's
On
first
this
victory
legacy
type.
path. Some of these legacy paths before only showed like 7 divisions, and this one has just hundreds of them. And that's because
Build
of
a
the way
rail
this
station
particular
is a
legacy
thing.
path is scored.
So,
So if I
rail
have
station
5
factories
resources,
products is kind
so
of
for
the
example,
core of
cotton is
economic
one of our
victory
factory
then.
resources. If I have
Yep.
5 cotton and I put them in a city with a factory that has 5 resources,
Make it important for the win, absolutely.
what that's going to do is it's going to give me the cotton bonus 5 times over, but each turn that sits there in place, I'll get 5 points towards this victory. So imagine you
Right.
have 5
basically
cities
you just
set
need to
up like that.
spam
The factories can be
factories.
in towns as well, so you can actually, it's not inconceivable to have 8 to 10 factories going at once.
As long as they're connected by rail.
Right.
Right.
All has to be connected by rail, or you can get islands connected if you have set up ports. The right way. But no matter what, all those factories, if they're connected in, they're scoring you points towards this victory each turn, so that the 500 points you need is not as crazy as it sounds.
It is an alternative turtle build that you can
so
play.
One
It
thing
doesn't
you'll
need
see
to
on these
be
screens is the
really wary.
far
I like
right
that.
lower corner. There's now a big
Focus on
victory,
economic production.
symbol there and some
and
details there.
yeah,
We'll
you
be
could
going
spawn a
into
military
exactly
from that pretty
what those
quickly.
mean
Great
later.
banker,
But
banker
keep in
spawns in the
mind
capital.
that in the previous ages, you were trying to get to the right-hand edge of a legacy path to earn those Golden Age cards we were talking about. Now, getting to the end of a legacy path unlocks a victory for you.
Right.
All right, so let's look at the culture path.
Done-
We've alluded
unlocks
to
a
that
victory.
quite a bit with the
Ooh, culture
talk
victory.
about the explorer,
Geographic
and how
Society.
15
to do is
artifacts.
study natural history, and then train one of him, and have one of your explorers. That person should go out and research where the artifacts are, and then go out to the sites. Artifacts
So
are
explorers
housed in
instead of
museums
archaeologists.
that can be built
Yep.
once you research natural history, and once you get to 15 of those, then you finish that legacy path.
I do have a quick question from chat. Puri710 asks, in these presentations, a lot of real-world conflicts are referred to as if they're canon.
Thank you very
Are we
much,
going to be
Jacob. I
going
really
through
appreciate it. I know
conflicts
railroads.
based on history?
Wait, so that doesn't
So,
mean it's not like a
The way
tourism-based
the
culture
game is
victory?
set
It's
up
just
is no
get
different than
have
15
things,
artifacts?
the previous Civ game is.
Interesting.
There's no scripting of the
Huh.
events or the conflicts. It's all
I guess tourism has always been very
dynamic
confusing.
interrelation of the leaders, the friction caused by our diplomatic system. We've shown off the diplomatic system before. We'll show it off again here, where we're talking about like what the relationship scores are. There are some things we do to sort of nudge the game towards those conflicts, and that's not any different than how ideologies were portrayed
Bucharest?
in Civ 5 or Civ 6, where
Someone just called
if
Bucharest,
I chose to be a
called out
Democrat
Bucharest.
and someone else chose to be communist
Yeah.
or fascism, that ideological friction just caused us naturally
Capital
to
Romania.
dislike each
Looks like
other, and
a
eventually your AI opponents are going to go to war over that.
independent power.
There's another incentive to
So
go to war here
Romania
on
technically
the
has
military
an
legacy
independent
path,
power?
and we'll get to that soon.
Got it. So it looks like we're heading toward an independent power.
So yeah, it doesn't
Yep,
look like there's a
independent power.
tourism
So
system.
over here,
Yep.
this is the
Yeah,
distant
I think
lands,
they
and there's
simplified
a lot
culture
of,
victory
mostly
on
open
purpose, which
territory,
is
but at the end of the very first turn, you have
fair,
independent
but it's also my
powers
favorite
spawn
because it's
into
the most
map.
complex. So, well,
while
I'll
this
have to see what it
looks
actually
wide
feels
open
like.
for us to settle.
Is that the Grand Canyon down there?
Independent powers
Yep.
here.
Nice.
America really likes to expand into this kind of open territory and claim lots of resources. They
America
get
likes to
gold
expand?
every
Oh,
time they
really?
use a resource. So this is really juicy for us as America, and we really want to go and take as much of that as possible. Here we have the beautiful Grand Canyon natural wonders,
Nice.
so we're going to go try to settle that. But
No
in order
Isabella.
to
No
settle it,
Isabella.
we first have to clear out the independent powers, so I'm moving an army commander into that area to start that process.
So it's interesting seeing the
America clearing
independent.
out independent powers?
I know,
Prospector,
right? So weird.
Which is America's
It's
unique civilian
like
unit.
our
can
mom
go
was like England or
outside
something.
of the normal radius of a city, which is 3 tiles. It can go to
It's interesting
4
seeing
or
independent
5
powers being
tiles
1
away
tile only
to improve
instead of
Yeah,
how
really.
city states are.
resources, acquiring them as part of that city, placing an improvement there, and giving you that resource. And that still gives you the free gold for America's ability.
That seems
Plus,
powerful.
Harriet Tubman's prospectors can move over vegetated terrain.
Which we'll see here in just a second, because this tile is vegetated
Yeah.
and normally would stop our movement, and we're going to be able to go right through it.
Harriet's going to be an unfortunately good leader for war.
So we're gonna go ahead
I feel like any
and
leader
take that
probably will
effect.
be.
I chose
Yeah.
authoritarianism
Any
as a
American
government, so we can
leader.
do either military unit production,
Even though it's like
combat
Ben
strength,
Franklin
because we're about to
and
start
Harriet
fighting
Tubman,
this
who are
individual
not
combat
military
strength.
whatsoever.
Makes sense.
And
Well,
that also gives us a policy slot, so we'll go ahead
So
and
look,
slot in.
here you can see the
Well,
old
you-
legacy
another
cards
quick
from
question
both
from chat.
civilizations that
Van
they've played
Haren
before.
asks, will
So they all
AI
come
be able
over.
to trigger the advance to the next stage?
So all players sort of combine together to move the game towards the next stage. The 2%
Yeah, there you go,
progress
go
we're
through it.
seeing here, obviously we're just at the very beginning.
I missed what these prospectors do.
But each turn, that progress
They
ticks up.
Develop
But
resources on the
also,
map.
anytime
and send
one
them
of
back
those
to America.
milestones, one of those big,
So they're like a builder,
achievement bars
except
on
they can go
the
anywhere.
legacy path
Mm-hmm.
is encountered by any player for the
Interesting.
first time. That provides a major boost to the age progress, and that can be triggered by either the AI opponents or by the human players. So if you're sitting around not doing anything and you're letting the AI,
The game will keep going.
yeah, history will leave you behind.
Right. Seeing the animations up close is so cool.
And once again, that combat.
I like the fact that
continues
once
to
the
play
fighting
out over
starts,
the rest of the
it doesn't
turn.
stop as well. You can see them fighting continually.
Not doing extra damage over and over again, but
No.
Especially when,
Just the
because
animation.
they'll have like
So we do have
multiple
another
people
diplomatic
like
action
face
to
each other
respond
too.
to, so we'll go ahead and
It's gonna be
resolve
interesting
that.
playing
So
my first game
whenever any diplomatic action
without
comes
the
up,
fast
we have
animation.
The three options: support, accept, or reject. Supporting or rejecting always costs influence, and this happens for pretty much any diplomatic action that occurs. We released a short on the diplomacy system yesterday. If you haven't seen it, make sure to check that out. So this is an endeavor.
If you
So it's
reject
positive
it,
for
though,
me, but if it were
Machiavelli
a
gets
sanction,
bonuses.
Let's say, which is negative for me, I would still have the option to reject that sanction, which costs me influence. So there's an opportunity cost there. But I do have options in how I want to interact with this. I'm going to go ahead and pick accept, which is free, because I want to save our influence for doing some
It's
espionage.
interesting how much they brought back like
She
research
gets
agreements
100%
and cultural
influence
agreements
towards
in that kind
espionage
of.
It'll be really
actions.
interesting.
And we're going to go ahead and take an espionage action against Xerxes, who we
But it's like
are,
not tied to your
currently
gold or
not
something,
friendly with.
like gifting gold.
here we
So it
can see
means
all of the
it's a
options
different
available
currency,
to
which
us.
means I'll actually want to
There's
do
all
it.
These endeavors
Yeah.
and sanctions we can try
Oh,
to
Xerxes.
improve
Why?
our relationship with him, for example.
Why being
but
like this?
By doing
Xerxes looks
espionage,
awesome.
This is a hidden option. All these others, the leader will get to see what we're doing, and
Counter spy.
so will every other leader in the game.
Espionage.
Espionage is secret. There is a reveal.
Steal
chance,
government
so
secrets.
if we were revealed while doing this action, the leader
Full
would get
stealing
a bunch
tech,
of
not even the
grievances
Eureka,
against us
just the
and a
whole
lot of
tech. So
free
back to Civ
influence
5.
that they could then use
I don't think there are
under
Eurekas anymore, right? Techs?
No,
it's
no.
just the tech or the mastery.
But we get to have
That
these
means
at a much
the
cheaper
micro
cost. These
of
are
focusing
40 to 80,
production early
whereas the other
instead of
types
science
are
is
much,
kind of
much more
gone. It's like
expensive with
actually just
production.
beelining science is going to be back.
That's
Unique
because of
ability, right?
Tubman's unique ability. Yeah.
She's
So
basically got half cost in this whole section. Of the
exactly.
display.
Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and steal technological advancement. He'll have no idea that we're doing this unless we get revealed, and he has no recourse. Like I said, with endeavors and sanctions, you can choose to reject it. This just happens.
100% success rate, by the way,
Unless
so
he
they're
sets
not
up
going
a
to fail.
counterspy, and
Like you,
counterspy will
you at least
increase
get
the
something
time
out of
to
it, which is
resolve
Yeah.
nice.
espionage
It just gets
action
revealed
and
or not.
Increase that reveal chance.
So we have a 100% chance.
We have 100%. So this is going to happen no matter what. It's just whether or not he discovers it and then gets bonuses to himself as a result.
That's a really good call.
Much more
That's
useful.
so much
Yeah.
So we
better.
may not be
Yep.
able to play the full 10 turns to see what comes out of this.
Right.
But what were to happen were we to be successful?
So
Ursa,
in
when
the
you
case
think
of
about
technology,
questions
we
to
would
spam
get
in
a
chat too.
free
Or not spam,
technology
but just
out of that.
tag them in
I
chat.
believe it's the cheapest one that he has
I
discovered.
just want to
that
know
we
more
have
about
not.
rail.
It did
True.
say on the tooltip there. I didn't read the whole thing, but for those who will
So
go back
Carl,
and
would you
screenshot it.
save any of your influence for the other two city-states here, playing this out, or
I think that as America, we would just take over all of these. We have lots of
Yeah,
available.
I was gonna say,
settlement
you're
limit.
playing
We start at
America.
16 at
Of
the
course you
beginning
are.
of,
America is going to be one of those
modern.
civs that is
So
going to
we
have high
tons of
high
available
cap.
settlements that we can
It's gonna be really
create.
interesting going from like
If we take
Rome
out over
into
all
like
these,
England
independent
into
powers
America.
and
You're gonna have so many
settlements,
cities
we'll
if you
get
do something like
lots
that.
of
Play
Or
it
sorry,
differently.
Normans, I think,
would
right?
keep at least
Or
one of
You
them.
keep one.
I think probably. I mean, there are 4 of them here. I think
No
one of
spy
them is
units
worth it
needed
just to get
to be,
the
like,
Sovereign
built. It's
bonus,
just
from the
espionage
city-states. We might
and
want
currency.
To,
Interesting.
strategically pick. These all look like militaristic ones.
They
aren't
are all military ones.
So it doesn't matter which one we keep it alive. But some of the bonuses are very, very strong. And just to remind people, we've shown what city-state bonuses look like in previous ages, but here in the modern age, they're even more powerful and effective than in any of the previous ages. So there's something you definitely don't want to discount.
I think it can be a real race with other players, right? To see who can get to the city-states first, too.
Racing to city-states, but to kill them instead of actually taking them over in Civ 6. That's funny.
I have a question.
What is this, the
another
Civ gift?
question from chat. Can you speed up how long spies take to complete one of the actions?
Not sure there are any abilities I'm aware of that do that. So I think it's pretty much, it's shown there. And yeah, it's...
Perhaps the game settings would be the
Well,
answer.
they absolutely do change based on game speed for sure. But we have fertile ground for all
Here we
sorts
go.
of bonuses
Show off
to
the
be
movement.
applied to
I
all
have been
sorts of
wanting
civilizations as the
this
content
prospector
starts
thing
rolling
for
out
so
this game.
long. When you want
So,
one
I'm sure
resource
our
that's
content
not in
team's
your
paying
land and you just
attention
want to
to
get
that.
it,
Absolutely.
you don't want to settle a
You
whole
may
city
see
for
it.
it.
Exactly.
Yep.
You may see
Which I
ideas
thought they
like that
fixed just
creeping
with
in very
towns.
soon.
I think just having
So
towns is
our
enough to
prospectors,
satisfy me, but this is also
This
interesting.
silk tile is outside of our normal 3-tile range.
So
But
this
if
is the
we
prospector.
improve it with the prospector, we still gain that resource. It is now added to our resource
Wait,
pool.
4 tiles
We assign
away?
it, and
Part of the
we
city?
got 100 gold for
Yep.
doing so.
So
And that's
prospectors
an
gobble
important
it
resource right
from a
now, 'cause
distance.
That's going to speed up our culture production, which is going to get us to natural.
Did they say
history
if there's a
before
limit
those
of how
other
far you can
players.
send a
If
prospector?
we're happy to go for that legacy path, the faster you get to
I don't think they
natural
did, but it
history,
looks like
the
it's
sort of
adjacent tiles.
better jump start you have in that game.
But you can do it outside of your usual range.
I think, however, we're ready to move on to another save.
Yeah, you want to hop into save too?
Sounds
All right,
good.
let's do it. But before that, we actually have another first look for you guys. So here is that
Ooh.
one for Ben Franklin.
Hey,
Ben Franklin, here we
more
go.
America.
Summon the chins.
Strategy is not idle amusement.
From humble printer to founding father, Benjamin Franklin made everlasting contributions to science and revolutionary U.S. politics. Leaders who follow Franklin's tireless work ethic will find a friend, so long as your politics align. Franklin's
He's gonna hate
curious
2/3 of the people on the
industrious
map.
nature offers incredible bonuses
Oh, wow.
towards science and growth. And his reputation as a socialite extends to Franklin's outgoing diplomatic practice.
Okay,
Juggle
he looks
friendly
powerful.
Conversations for kind rewards. Consider pairing Franklin with America in the modern age for wild resource bonuses. So long
I'm
as
gonna have
you
so much fun with
claim
America.
First.
Yep.
Or choose a different path all your own.
Okay, so
But
he has
whatever you build,
50%
remember,
production
to build
towards
something,
buildings.
you can
50% extra production
Is
towards
that what
buildings.
it's?
And
I saw
then
the science on
extra science on all buildings as well. Wow.
per era, so it's gonna
So
be
that
plus
was
3
our
per
second
building
first
in
look
the
at
modern
stream
era.
with Benjamin Franklin. I know we
he's
teased
good.
him that was our first time kind of showing off some of the cool abilities, and we're going to show it off in gameplay too. But let me just first ask, why Ben Franklin to Civ 7?
Well, we are really going on an East Coast tour this year. We have the local hero for the sort of Baltimore, Maryland region we showed before. We're going up the road just a little ways to Philadelphia, and there is nobody more beloved in the city of Philadelphia than Benjamin Franklin. So if you look at his accomplishments, it's just amazing. He was a diplomat. He was a politician who was in the Continental Congress. He was an inventor.
Same
he was
Willie.
a scientist. He was the first postmaster general of the United States. The list goes on and on and on. The cool fact that I just picked up reading about him a little bit last night is that really shows his diplomatic impact is he's the only person to have signed probably the 4 most important documents that were part of the founding of America. So he signed the Declaration of Independence. He signed the treaty with France that brought them into the war. He signed the Treaty of Paris that ended the war and where Britain accepted American independence. And then he signed the U.S. Constitution. He was the oldest member of the delegation still at the U.S. Constitution. So he was just...
He
had
has
his-
lived 10 lives.
He lived 10 lives, had his hand in everything. I mean, we've had great
So why
leaders
are you
from
still in
America
your
before.
basement?
We've had Jefferson, we've had Washington. But you can put...
Franklin
a
has
very,
been one of the most important
good
men in
argument
American
together
history that
Franklin
wasn't a
had as
president.
much of an
So
impact as
Yeah.
he
that
did.
he's like an obvious
So
choice.
now he gets to be a leader in Civ. And what's cool is he's so good at two different parts of a Civ game. He's great at the diplomacy, but he's great at the science. And we've had him over.
He's very good at the science.
Yeah.
And also the gold and the production, because he can build everything
Ben
faster.
Franklin, like I was going great. in
America's
this game,
always
but
gonna be
Ben
some
Franklin's
tech lead in every
science
Civ game.
abilities rolled over me. So we've had to actually pull back some of his
Where's
abilities
Einstein?
a little bit.
Scientist,
We'll let,
probably?
Carl dive in. and
Actually, wait,
show
that's
us
all different.
I love that. They made him too
what
powerful.
The cool abilities we have associated with him are.
So Ben Franklin has the first American, which is sort of the title that he's referred to as, and he gets science on production buildings, and then he builds production buildings faster. So you really want
Wait.
to combat
Oh,
as many
man.
production buildings as possible with Ben
Oh,
Franklin.
50% production
and
towards
then
kind of
that equals
production
science.
Production buildings and
Um,
science on
eventually
production
you
buildings. So
can
you want to
just
specifically
get
go for
even
factories and
stronger.
stuff, and you get
And
rewarded
then he
on
also
science
has
for
really
it.
unique interactions
Right.
with the diplomacy system, which we'll show
Okay,
off
so it's
here in
not
a
all
moment.
buildings. Fine.
He gets science from active endeavors, not sanctions, just endeavors, and not espionage, that he has started himself or that he has chosen to support. And recall that it costs
Two endeavors of the
influence in
same
order to
type
support somebody
available
else's
could be
endeavor
interesting.
that they
I could see
propose
some
to you,
stacking
but if he does
bonuses
that, he gets
going on
science for
there.
doing so.
That's like
And then he can
the
also have
research
two
agreements and
endeavors
cultural
with the
agreements,
same
right?
Yeah, or like
type
open
active
borders or
Okay.
open markets. stuff
Normally,
like
Yeah,
that.
you can,
only
as long as you have the
one.
diplo favor to do
So
that,
if
which
I were to
he's gonna have
do-
bonuses to
let's
that,
just
so
go
he
ahead and
probably
dive right
can.
into
That's
that.
gonna
So
be
we're
it's gonna be
very
pretty
friendly
good.
with Ashoka here. So we're going to do an endeavor with them, and oh, we already have some active. That's why.
already- yeah, set
So
that
we
up,
have a research collaboration up right now. So if we switch over to Confucius, we can create another one. So normally you could only have one of these up at a single
things are
time.
good.
Now, if
Influence is
Confucius
going to be
were
such a
propose
valuable resource.
12 science per
endeavor
turn,
with
other
us,
leaders
we
receive
could
6
have
per
that same
turn.
type
Both
active
leaders
with
receive
somebody
18 per
else.
turn.
We're
if it's
able to
supported.
have
Holy
them
cow, okay.
Available because we've opted into somebody else's, and we can have one of our own. But Ben Franklin can have two of the same that he has proposed to other players. So by selecting this here, we get
This
that
is
as well.
gonna make diplomatic favor actually
Unlike our
worth it
last
in the
live
game.
stream, we are much friendlier
Really
with
worth it.
Confucius this
You're not
time.
just gonna sell it to the AI every day.
We are,
Like,
but one thing we didn't really talk
Plane.
about earlier is we talked a little bit
Yep,
about
planes.
how the
You
tech
can see him
tree is set up.
researching them in the top
We-
left as
we
well.
touched on the civics tree and started diving into the beginning of it with the natural history
He was
civic.
playing
but
Greece
there's a
beforehand,
really
wasn't he?
important civic
And then went
early,
Norman.
in that tree that we might want
Interesting.
to look at right now because it's going to set the stage for everything we're talking about in this save. And that's the political theory
Militarism.
civic. You can see everything channels into it. You've got to go through that political theory civic. And once you have finished
Unlocks
it,
ideology
it's going to
trees.
unlock
Interesting.
three
Interesting.
three culture branch trees. They're called the ideology trees.
Was this in
It's a
earlier
democracy
eras, or is
tree,
it
a
just
fascism
unique
tree,
to
and a
No, just
communist
modern
tree. So
So these are the
every
American
leader
civics. These
at
are the
some
unique
point will
ones
get
to
some
America.
Political theory, and then they will
then democracy,
choose one of
fascism,
those
communism.
trees to start researching. As soon as you put one turn of research into those trees, you have locked into that ideology, and that's going to be, you know, the
It's a culture and
political
diplomacy
thinking,
for
the
democracy.
block that you're following. For the
okay,
rest
so
of the game.
you
In our current
can't
game,
switch
our good friend
ideologies
Ashoka
like Civ 5.
has chosen
Nope.
democracy just like we have. We've already finished democracy. We're working on liberalism, or can work on liberalism here soon.
I would have loved to have seen a monarchist
The other
path.
leaders in this game, only one of them has picked an ideology. That's Xerxes. And
Pal Xerxes.
yeah, Xerxes is a communist right now, and as American Democrat,
Of course he
you
is.
know, we're going to question that at this point in time in history, and so we're going to go and figure out what we need to do to combat Xerxes in just a few moments here.
22 settlement limit at the moment. Did you see that? So
Jay.
again,
How does
huge
the
amount of
ideology
space
democracy
available.
differ from governments?
So we have had our research team who has a bunch of historians on board sort of talk about the fact that you know, governments and democracies can be kind of looked at in two different ways, and we have actually split apart democracy from a government type this time. Now the government types, do you want to show which government we chose here? We chose authoritarianism in the previous save. We're in a bureaucratic monarchy
Okay.
here. This is another one of the
Oh.
choices.
So we are still a monarchy.
so
Interesting.
Bureaucratic monarchy. Yeah, so it's
Yes.
could be
Um,
following
a democratic, bureaucratic monarchy.
Yeah, fascist one.
Yeah, the
There's going to be
constitutional
interesting
monarchy,
combinations.
effectively.
Governments
Yeah.
can be linked to the different ideologies. They're not a strict
Ben is a
tie like
king,
there had been in
but
some
Ben
of
is
the
not a
previous
Khan.
games.
Got it.
That's the important thing.
Let's go ahead and start taking a look at our map here. We can see that we have a bunch of different city names from across several cultures. You want to talk about what got us to this point?
So
This looks
this
like
is
Norman
a
to me.
different save game. It's not the one that we were playing before. I was talking about
Huge
starting
cities,
in
though.
Siege.
Look at this.
We have
51
chosen
pop towards
sort
the end of the
more
game.
a
Wow.
Traditional Western
Lots of
civilization
specialists
path to
going on.
America. This game was played by Sean Wilson, who everyone's been seeing on our shorts, and he set it up that we're going to go with the Greek to Norman to American pathway through history, following that with Ben
Interesting.
Franklin. So you can see
Hastings is an
Athens,
English city, isn't it?
Is on a lake here. It's a
yes,
huge
it is.
City with
Is
all
Hastings
sorts of world
then
wonders
It's where
considered?
the invasion
established for it.
they're
England
considered Normans are like English,
And
right?
you
I'm
can
not
see
super in
that
on.
Normans
there's an
conquered
Acropolis,
England
from
to
our,
kind of make it England, yeah.
Greek heritage, which is their unique quarter where we put two buildings together. Just 2 tiles west of that, we have the dungeon.
This is where you can see
The
all
Moat
of
and
the old
Bailey
stuff.
The Moat and Bailey is awesome. I love it.
really cool. Yeah.
That goes around it. It's just like that's.
It's really cute.
Dude, you need so
But
many
we've got all these
castles
world
in a
wonders
Civ
sprinkled
game.
around here, too.
Like,
We've got
I
the
want to see the
Colosseum, we've got
castles.
Oracle. It's
Yeah, the
pyramids
rail
in
yards on the
background.
right
It's
as well.
Just all right here.
Spotted the rail.
In
Look at that.
Athens.
Did you see the rail going
That's
out the
not
city in
where
the bottom left?
We've
Yes.
kept our capital.
From the
Sean moved
aerodrome
into the
that's there
east,
too.
further
And
out
there's
towards
the
ocean
Monument of
to get ready
Axum.
for
That's
the
a wonder.
Exploration Age. So the city of Rouen is here at the where the river spills out into the ocean, and that was where
I'm
his
calling
Norman
it now.
capital was.
You're going to want more space between
All
your
sorts
cities
of
than we
great
have done
tiles there.
in previous
We'll
games.
see in a second
Like
that he's
5,
got a
6
lot of
tiles, not 4.
specialists down on those tiles because he was going
These
for
things
the
sprawl.
Enlightenment victory path there. A few more wonders. We can see Angkor Wat. We can see yet another Motti and Bailey complex. So Sean's done.
I'm
some
gonna have
great
so
work
many.
here,
I'm gonna
we
go
have
Normans
some
and go
amazing
so many
cities.
Moat and Baileys.
The other
This
thing
is
I'd
their
like
first
to point
game.
out
Yep.
is how diverse our city name set has become. So we have the Greek city names.
Hard to tell if
we
it's
have
more or
some
less
Roman city
complicated.
names. If Carl goes to the southwest,
It's brand
you can
new.
see
There's
some of
so
the
much
brand
that's
new
just brand
cities that
new,
we
so
have
it's really hard to
established
even
in
know.
America. And so you can see this sort of multicultural,
A lot of
layered
sprawl. And he's
identity
actually
that has
spread
built
out
up
quite
over the
nicely there
ages,
as well.
And that's what we're getting. It's very unique to our playthrough. It's not the same as like everyone's.
Are you seeing
American
enough
playthrough. It's
navigable
not the
rivers?
same with the same set of cities. And I think it's really
They're not
reflective of
everywhere.
what you see in the United States.
It's kind of a bit like
right
floodplains
now
in Civ
our
6.
Day and age. We have a lot of English city names in the northeast of our country, but if you go to the Mississippi River area, there are French city names, New Orleans, St. Louis. If you go out to the southwest, there are Spanish city names with Los Angeles, San Francisco. There are Native American city names. Chicago is a Native American city name. It's one of the 3 largest cities in the U.S. So
A wise man once said history is built in layers. So I think that is really evident
Hey!
here.
So
Woo!
I love
Reference.
when that shows through in our game, and that's what we're seeing just with the city names.
It's awesome.
Speaking of
That's
things
actually a
with
really
layers,
good point.
Let's go ahead and choose production
Yeah,
for.
it's cool. I
our
like it.
capital
Tells a
here.
story as
So
well.
We have a bunch of buildings
Until you
to
rename
choose
them all.
from, but a few of them really have very high.
Cannery,
yield times
21
because we're seeing
food,
specialist
300
yields
food in
also
Ruin. Wow,
reflected here.
that's
This is the highest projected yield that,
pretty big.
that building.
These
can get.
numbers
We're
don't
gonna
even
build
make
a
sense to
cannery,
me. Holy cow.
which has a massive 21 food here, and that will
Canneries
be.
like to be like where, you know, the fishing boats are coming in,
Yeah.
and so it likes to be near water.
Oh, extra bonuses on
A
top
lot
as
of
well.
buildings like to
Another
be near
12
water.
from
We should remind
specialists.
players that there
5.
pretty much are
Wow.
3 main types of adjacent.
This is where specialists are
Yes,
going to stack
okay.
massively.
This is where they're
coast
focusing
and
big
natural
yield,
river
like their
tiles.
preserve
You see
lesson
that
is
especially
in
with
specialists.
commercial buildings.
Yep.
Buildings.
Buildings.
But you'll also see it with some buildings like the cannery. We have adjacencies for being next to resources, which is especially useful for scientific discovery in Civ 7. And then we have adjacencies for being next to mountains and natural wonders. So this is a case where we have had those 4 water tiles next to this one tile for 3 ages now.
Yeah.
We've really invested in it, and we've been putting as many specialists as we can on that tile.
And a question from Chad: are you able to destroy, move your own districts in Civ 7?
You overbuild.
Yes.
So
You build
take
over them, yeah.
buildings
So
that are
whatever you had in the
obsolete
last
from
age
previous
doesn't
ages,
matter anymore.
And you build the newest,
Unless you pick the
latest,
policy
and
that
greatest
lets you
buildings
keep
on
them.
top.
Yeah.
So to some
Right.
In
extent,
some
you are
cases,
moving
yes.
things around. And here,
We could put it somewhere else.
The cannery is giving us food out of this tile,
Right.
whereas before we're replacing the guild hall. That was giving us gold from the tile.
Yeah, right.
So we were moving like what types of yields.
That
we're
big blue
getting and
building on
so
the top
forth,
of
but
the
we're not actually
tile.
picking buildings up.
Is that the guild hall
And we are
or
getting
Is that
the?
the guild hall?
So it's a
Because it's
minimal-
weird.
Ooh,
I
is it the stock exchange? It could be the stock exchange.
but
I was trying to figure out what
we
that
are
building
still
was in
getting
the
something there.
opening
And
trailer
we
for
could
so
choose to put
long.
the cannery on a
So I'm
different
like,
tile,
it's right there.
and
It's right
that
there.
would create a brand new urban district. So in a way, you can move them like that and continue to keep some of your previous buildings, but. Obviously, the
Those
21,
yields, though.
yeah, the yields are much better because of the.
I mean, that's
specialists,
a
and the
you
specialists
can't
are not
turn that
helping the guild
down.
hall at all because its adjacency bonuses are gone.
Or the
So by
multiple, the
replacing
tile,
guild
the
hall
walls
with
on
the
multiple
cannery, you're
tiles
gonna
in your
get a lot
city is
more
also
yield than
just
if we were to
fun.
Put
I
it down
just
here.
noticed it's a Casbah across the river,
Right.
which is not part of a Greek Norman American heritage, but
That'll be an
remember when
independent
you
nation
can
thing.
Pick up city-state allies. They might have that type of unique improvement available to us, so that's what Sean's done to
So you
have
can
a
still get the unique
southern
improvements from
part of the
city-states
city that
effectively. It's just a
is
different
rocking the
mechanic,
Casbah.
but it's there.
Let's go ahead and place this cannery down. And that's given us a narrative choice similar to what happened in our
Another
previous
narrative
save.
choice.
It sounds like
This
there's gonna be a
one
lot
feels-
of.
a little bit more immediate.
Yeah,
There's gonna be a lot of
Beyond
them.
Take the old guild hall down to its foundations. We stumble across an older market. So this is looking back all the way to antiquity.
Right, so the market is the big economic building, the first one you encounter in antiquity. Sean was placing down the market in a very smart location with all those water bonuses. So he put it down there. Somewhere in the Renaissance period, the people here said this market's not really serving us. We now have guilds, and guilds are where the economic power of our
Okay.
nation
So I don't know
is
why you
coming
wouldn't
forth,
claim the
and so we're gonna
artifact
replace
there.
this older
Doesn't seem like a
market
huge
with
cost.
guild hall, and so the market was overbuilt.
Some choices are
And
made to be
now
easy,
it's
I
very
guess.
Cool. Here in
Yeah.
the modern age, we're taking out the guild hall, getting ready for the cannery, and lo and behold, our archaeologists have found something. And so we're going to go ahead and take the artifacts that are coming from sort of the previous history of the tile, and that's going to help
Cache
us
of
on
precious
our
stones.
cultural legacy path.
Yeah, the narrative stuff is going to be very much
the next
what
thing we
it
have
sounds
here,
like.
is
It's a
the
narrative
command
element that
units.
is.
We've got a couple of
You can
units
click right
Yeah.
through
right
if
in
you
the
want,
middle
or
of
you could
our
actually read it
empire
and
ready
enjoy
to
the
go.
immersion.
We're going to move them over to a different city through one of our modern features, railroads, which I know everyone has been very excited to
A lot of
see.
people have been waiting for railroads.
Yeah.
So let's talk about
Yeah.
how industrialization happens.
Sure.
So the first thing that you get
Look at the
to
railroad.
is the railroad, and you get to place down rail stations. And once you have a city with rail stations, then it becomes eligible for the factories that we were talking about earlier. So Carl's
Okay,
going to
so you need it
demonstrate
for factories.
the power of railroads here in a minute.
Yep.
But we'll
So
also
the buildings to the right is
very
the,
soon
is
get
the
into
factory,
the
right?
power of
All the
factories and showing
smokestacks.
exactly how that works.
Looks like it.
Yes. So here we have a rail station, and this is the core building that railroads are centered around. So a rail station is a full hex building. This is a new thing for the modern age, and that's because
Ooh.
it is a very important tile. We really want the player to be able to find it easily and focus on it. And there's also a lot of things that are happening on that tile, so it's very important. So this is the only building that can go onto this tile. You can't pair it with another building like we see in other places. But once you have built a rail station, that is only half of the equation. You then have to build a second rail station. You have to have a destination.
Fair, yeah. I
Where does
agree.
it go to?
Once you have done that, and you have your two rail stations up, it creates a rail connection between the two.
Oh,
Any
automatic
route, so
between
a
the two.
road between the two settlements.
That's
which is
so
a town
nice.
As well as a city, are instantly upgraded to rail. We can see that there is a road
Amazing.
here through this beautiful mountain pass. By the way, this is absolutely gorgeous. That means
It is
that
gorgeous.
even though there's a rail station here, whatever this is going to does not have a rail station. It has not been upgraded. So that is a foreign settlement. If they were to build a rail station, this would be upgraded. But
Oh,
So it
Until
upgrades to
between-
other people's
that
stuff as
stays
well.
a road.
Yep.
But we can see that we have
Oh,
rails. in
ooh.
our other
Is there a
settlements.
choice in that matter?
Beautiful network of rails running through all of our farmland.
Are you going
here.
to instantly
Yep.
connect your railroads to mine so you can invade?
All of our settlements
Yep.
together, allowing us to
That's capitalism,
transport
baby.
units. So we can zoom back in, and we have a couple
Not
of our
again.
unique units. This is the American Marine, which is sitting in a duck boat because
Ooh.
it's an amphibious unit. They can,
Amphibious Marine unit, bringing back from
water
Civ
as
5.
well as on land.
Yep.
And it has a unique action called move by rail.
Not unique action. It's a action
contextual.
Contextually
action.
unique for it
because it is adjacent.
That's a good
So
clarification.
any unit that is on the rail station or adjacent to the rail station gets this move by rail option. And if I click it, let me zoom out. We can see that there are.
You can go to any rail station you've got.
That we can teleport.
So
they
took,
basically act as a much earlier airport. I love that.
Yeah, they took the airport mechanic.
And they've actually made it relevant.
Yeah.
Chicago, and if we click that tile, it instantly teleports the unit traveling by rail across.
I love that.
There is a 20 tile, I believe it is.
Railway station on the front line. Teleport troops there.
There is a limit that's good, 20 tiles, but that's still really far.
People wonder, can I do
really
all
far.
the way across the map? You might have to do across the map in a couple different.
Yeah, as long as
stages.
you can't do it across the sea too.
Together,
You
right?
do it over a couple turns.
And sort of while we're moving these units over, we've had a few people in chat asking about tutorials, guides. I know it can seem like there's a lot to take in with all the different mechanics that come in. And I can answer at least part of that. We do have some guides planned. We're
Is that
working really
Admiral
closely
on the
to
land?
create some starter guides that are going to help
No, that's a Marine.
new players to the game,
Oh,
and
okay.
even some returning players get used to some of the new things coming to 7. Is there anything else you guys want to add on top of that?
So we have worked harder on our tutorial system in-game than we ever have in a previous title. We sort of have brushed past it.
You don't want
entirely
the
in the
tutorials
live
to be
stream
too
because
good,
we
though,
sort of
'cause
like
that's
to
where we
explain
step in.
things
Exactly.
ourselves. People like to read through the text that pops up.
Slow down,
But
Ed.
the tutorial system that has been put in Civ 7 is entirely contextual to your gameplay. So it's not like you have to read through these screens to get to the next turn. It's play the game, and our system will kind of listen to what's happening in your game and pop up dialogues to explain what you need to know at just the right time. The other thing that I play with all the time, and we do have on during this stream, is there are 4 advisors that help the player through the game, and those advisors are always looking at your game sort of in the background as well and making sure you're not making a big mistake or misstep. So we have a system called the Advisor Warning System, and every
This is
time
the
you might be getting into
Microsoft
trouble with
paperclip
something,
technique.
your advisor will.
Are you
knock
sure
on
you
your
wanna do
window
that?
and say, wait a second. Don't
Are you sure you want to settle your capital off fresh water?
For instance, in your antiquity game, the first time you go to war, you might not remember to take your influence and spend it to add to your war support to keep you from war weariness.
We have a lot of influence right now. So
Influence for war support.
Yeah, and so your advisor is
Interesting.
happy to pop up and say, don't forget to put your influence into war support, otherwise your people are not going to want to fight this war for
Yeah,
long.
I don't mind a warning system
Us
for
and
stuff
Xerxes
that's
are
going
now
wrong,
not
as long as you
looking
can
great.
sort of turn it off if you need to.
Yes.
But I don't mind that.
Because it saves some reloads,
get
but-
ready to declare war on Xerxes since he is an opposing ideology. So in a moment,
Xerxes has been a
go ahead and declare
villain in
that war.
every single
I did
game they've
also
shown
just
so
use a
far. I
prospect
love the
to acquire
consistency.
a factory resource, and we now have resource assignments available.
He's
so let's go
communist
ahead and
right
jump in and take a look at factory resources
America
Okay,
joke.
and I think it was
America
down-
intensified.
down,
right here.
Yep, where the quinine resource was acquired. Resources always look to see whether or not they can be used by the local town. If they can, when you acquire them, they just get instantly slotted in. If they can't be used locally, then they go over to the left-hand side of this screen where you have to decide where
And you
to
have to allocate them
But that
yourself.
one was available.
I want to see
be
the
slotted in
difference in
immediately, so it
bonus
did
between
so
just putting them in a city and putting them in a factory.
And we can see that we have the factory symbol to the right of
270
it, so
food.
that one is
3%
processed.
culture across
Down
your
here in
nation
Athens,
if it's in the factory.
We have a factory that's really humming. It is processing clay or the
And
special
3%.
kaolin clay that's used for porcelain making.
Factories give culture
And we
then.
have 4 copies of that there,
Yeah.
so we are pumping that out.
Because it's
Each
got the-
copy, it says it's giving us 3% additional culture. So that
Oh, I see, so it's
factory
all of the
as a
resources in that
whole
city.
is giving us a 12% boost to our culture empire-wide, which is certainly very, very useful. The other factory
Nice.
resources, we can mouse over them, and you can see that fish help the growth rate of your of all your settlements, and citrus is a production bonus towards naval units, sort of reflecting how citrus has been used to fight off scurvy for sailors for a long time. So those are some examples of the factory resources.
Quite
and
literally
don't
in
forget that
Monopoly's
those
mode.
Factory resources, now that we have
Production
them
toward
slotted
naval
into
units.
play, they're helping us with that Railroad Tycoon legacy path, so we're getting points towards finishing that legacy path.
It's also worth noting, we've got this bonus towards naval units, but when you do build a rail station and connect a city by rail, it also gives that settlement a 10% boost in training units. So there's an additional immediate yield effect. Of course, the building itself has yield, but you get 10% towards building units, and some of our other resources are also contingent on having a rail connection. So like
Production
for
bonuses
example,
are rail
you get
again.
additional
That's nice.
happiness
That
if
used to be
the
in
city has a
5.
rail station. If it does not,
Oh, I see. So yes, so some just get
Does
better with
America
rail.
have
Gotcha.
a particular bonus to resources? Is there something about the America Civ?
So they get gold every single time they improve a resource. So by using the prospector here, I was able to get gold for doing that. And then the prospector itself lets you claim resources outside of the normal range. So this resource here was more than 3 tiles away from both settlements. It was halfway between them. So I was able to pick that up, even though normally I wouldn't, and with any other civ I would not be able to grab that.
That's a really good
So
question.
you can go and grab the oil.
Because we have not talked about the unique quarter for America.
Right, the
And
industrial
we
park.
almost showed it off, but we kind of failed to dive deep into it. But it was sitting right next to that first rail station that Carl was showing us.
Ah,
the
okay, that's what I was
industrial
looking at.
park, and America gets a rail yard and steel mill, unique buildings that, when combined together, make this industrial park. This is not
Industrial park.
does not create railroads on its own. You do still have to have that rail station, but it sort of ties
at the
into
production
and
in
gets
that,
some
though.
really amazing production bonuses.
Ursa, you have to play America first if you're gonna have the
Yeah,
best
it's
railroads in the world.
It looks like a good civ.
Specialists on this tile as well. So we're getting a lot of science and a lot of culture from our specialists, and then those are boosting the production bonuses that the industrial
20 production,
park is
22
giving us.
science.
Yeah.
So
I think this could be yet another time where the devs have made America fantastic. Yep, Nicola, I think you've got that right.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah.
around these cities for us, and wonders are also great ways to accelerate your adjacency bonuses. So the yields in general
Aircraft carrier.
are
Huge.
super strong.
Look,
Yeah,
look at
let's
that.
do that.
Loads of slots. Oh, is that
Modern
the
age.
commander?
park is yields on each of these tiles. Yields on each of these
Oh my
tiles.
God,
This
it's
is
so
how
busy.
The yields.
the cannery
So
finish is
busy.
gonna go up by 21.
Oh man, yeah.
The yields on all these tiles
Wow,
are really
28
really high. This is,
science, look at that.
within our
They do
city,
have the
and
big
we have
icon
specialists
when you
on this
have
tile,
more
so
than
that's what's
what?
boosting
More than
that.
5?
But
That's
even
okay,
out
good.
Here in our countryside, all of our
Big
tile
icons is what we
have some
need.
Really,
But look
really
how
high
rubbish
yields,
rural tiles are.
and
Oh, actually,
this
no
just goes
seeing
to
that. That's
show
10
we can do
food
some
on a
pretty
tile there.
awesome,
Huh.
What about these open tiles have nothing on them? Why do they have huge yield?
Stacks that we know that people really like.
I know
And
Pantheons
kudos
boost
to
them
our
and
game
some
balancing
techs,
team,
but
because these numbers kind of have escalated in a crazy fashion,
Yes.
and some of our designers, Tim Fleming, has been the lead on that pacing effort, and so he definitely had some tricky problems to work through to try to get the pacing right.
numbers go
But
big.
we
I
have
love that.
everything playing out
I'm a
at
big
the,
fan of
you
big
know,
number.
pace that is
I think
appropriate for what we wanted to
the
do,
UI
and
needs to
so
be
we're super
updated
happy
a little
about
bit to make it look prettier,
I know
but
that
the
we
core
wanted to yield,
the core
touch on a
thing,
little
the
bit of
big
ships in
big
water
yield
too.
icon
But before we
is
move on to
there.
railroads, I have 2 quick questions on it. One from Habo: can enemies use your rails?
So if you have open borders, you should be able to teleport to their rail stations, I believe.
I'm not sure about that. I don't
Amazing.
think that works.
Stumped.
Yeah.
I was thinking
But
it does. Like, if
if
you're
you
allied,
capture
Oh,
those cities,
you
contentious.
certainly can. Yes,
then
absolutely.
it becomes your city, and you'll be
Absolutely.
able to use it. So it's
The
not
surrealism
like,
here is muting the
I
yield
mean,
porn.
in the real
Absolutely,
world, there were things
absolutely.
like the Soviet Union used
The
a different
problem
gauge
is
of railroad
it
than
can't be as
Western
bright in
Europe
color
did,
for us as
and
it is in Civ
so,
6.
when you
I wish it was
marched into
somewhat
Russia, you
because
could
it's
use the
already a
rail lines
yield
and things like
icon
that.
and it's
So
already like a
there's
step
not those types of
aside from
problems in our game.
being
If you
realistic
capture
in the
cities,
first
you can
place.
build
Your
your
railroads
rail
are your own,
Yes.
essentially.
Yes.
And then the other question I have from AOCash: does building railroads
But
benefit
that is the thing.
trade,
You
or
take a
is it
city,
just
you
for
use it as a
military
settlement that you
transport?
teleport your troops
It
to.
benefits trade in that if you look at the
Yeah.
whole trade
Maybe you won't
resource
raise Florida
factory
this time,
system
you'll
into
capture
one
it.
system, you have to have
Oh, hi,
railroad
Bravas.
connections
Yeah,
back to your
big
capital
numbers.
to be able to build a
Big
factory.
numbers.
You have to have a factory in place in order to take those factory resources and place them in the slots and then start getting the benefits of it. So it's a
It seems like factories and rail,
part of
they are
your
limiting
sort of
factors. Like, you
internal
will
network
have to
that
have those in
fosters
if you
trade
want
and
to
resources
make your
and
industry
the-
pop.
The whole railroad tycoon victory
Which
path.
checks out.
Yeah,
As we
especially
saw,
as
the rail
America,
station
'cause you
is
have your
also,
unique stuff that
requires
synergizes
to get
with
the
it.
most out of certain resources, that they effectively double the amount of yield that they give in a settlement with a rail station.
Hopefully a high contrast
which is
mod comes
really
through for the blind
significant.
people.
And while that's not directly tied to the rail connection from one city to another, having the rail station there multiple times will, by default, create that rail network. So I think we're ready to go back up here. I jumped the gun.
We're going to see some huge stacking things.
Here.
Oh, look at that.
Some really cool
look at that
ships
fleet.
and an aircraft carrier. So let's talk about naval and flight in the modern age.
What are you going to do with those cool ships?
I love seeing the Marines actually as their unit on the water.
I think we're just about ready to do so. But before we actually declare war, I want to talk about the aircraft carrier. And over here we have an air base of sorts.
Okay,
so
aerodromes are back.
We've hinted that there is a third type of commander
Yes!
in the modern age, and that is the squadron commander. So here is a squadron commander, and the squadron commander is sort of divided up into two
How are you right
categories.
every
There is
time,
a
Ursa?
land
How do you do
version,
it?
which is squadron commander. It must be on land. It always must be on land. You can pack it into into a fleet commander and move it around, but you do have to base it on land. If you want something in the water, it has to be an aircraft carrier, which is a distinct type from the squadron commander. It's not an embarked squadron commander. This is a naval unit. It cannot go up on land at all, but it is still a squadron commander of its own.
Nice.
Type.
It's two separate things like that.
Absolutely.
Such a cool unit.
Yeah, so here we go. This is the aircraft carrier. And then I'll bring this over here and we'll take a look at this.
Look at all the boat design. It's so much better.
And remember that the American unique military unit was the Marine.
There is a couple of trees in the airfield, but we'll forgive that.
Version of it.
Yeah, so it does not have a separate embarked unit asset like a lot of our units do. It just is the duck boat that goes into the water. I think it gets this awning in the back to help keep out the ocean spray. But yeah, this is just the same unit. It just goes in water and
You know, the highlight of like battleships being like the peak of the modern era, knowing that there will probably be another era later on is awesome, because like battleships do go obsolete, but they're so awesome, and you need to highlight battleships specifically for so long.
The red 90 in the heart.
So the fact that they'll have like the whole era to play with, instead of like going straight to missile cruisers is huge.
It has. So because we are already hostile, we get the option for a formal war. If we were higher relationship, it would be a surprise war, which causes free war support for them. Here, because it's a formal war, he does not get bonus war support. We are getting bonus war support from our military attributes, which we have unlocked. We'll go ahead and declare this.
Poor old
So
Xerxes.
question from chat. I know there's a lot of interest in how the AI is going to take advantage of some of these mechanics too. Smegmeister asks, will the AI actually build and use airplanes in Civ 7?
Yes.
So absolutely. One thing that the AI doesn't have to worry about quite as much as in previous titles is it doesn't have to like build up the tech tree basis quite as much to going into modern, everyone starts with at the bottom of the tree with obviously some boosts from the legacy paths and scientific attributes you've earned, but it doesn't have as far to get into the aircraft research as maybe it did in previous games. So people will see AI use of aircraft, absolutely.
Also, Aerodrome's not a specialist district.
That first save you had and getting absolutely destroyed by the AI.
Wasn't that much fun.
Right, maybe not for the
To see him
nice
throwing
redemption arc
influence
for
in
me,
here to give the enemy reduced combat strength.
Influence into war support, so we are getting a +7 support now, which will give us.
Wait, so war support's a combat bonus, not just like a grievances thing.
Yeah.
That's so
It swings
big.
the war in your favor.
Oh my goodness.
He may have a bank of.
He may be
influence
spending some here
that
in a
he'll
moment.
spend it,
Yeah, when it gets to his turn. I am saving some of it. We've got 400 or so.
Oh, influence points are so big, so much bigger than diplomatic victory or diplo favor, right?
One of the main yields. Yeah.
You also find that if Xerxes has an ally somewhere else in the game, it's often a case where one war can have a chain effect and lead to a couple other people declaring war. So
Oh, absolutely.
It's always good
You gotta
to
have
sort
the
of
war.
be cautious with spending all your influence.
Oh yeah, big world wars are gonna just appear now.
Dude, I love seeing the fleets.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about those before we get back to our air
So before
units.
you talk about that, just what Carl just did was the first move was with the naval commander with the units still packed. They went one tile to the northwest. Then he was ready
fleet
to get them
commander.
into battle formation, so he immediately unpacked. And just like on land, the naval units work the same way. He's got them all spread out. And because the naval commander has the right promotion, they can immediately move and attack.
Yep, this one right here.
That's
allows
such a
us
good
to
promotion.
Move
Yeah.
immediately after unpacking. So
I
those
mean,
units are
that's
already ready
huge.
to go.
That's absolutely massive
So what we
promotion.
have here are two
I
different
mean, I
types
wonder
of
if the other
naval
promotions
units.
are also like
We have a
big,
battleship.
you know, where like it's a hard choice or not.
Battleship, and we have a destroyer. These are a heavy naval unit and a light naval unit. In Modern, we start introducing additional types, classes of units, light and heavy. Heavy units are bigger, cost more,
Interesting.
and have more combat strength. Light units are faster, smaller, lower combat strength, lower production cost.
Cool.
And we do have a really cool dev diary actually coming out tomorrow that's going to dive into combat.
Broccoli, what did you miss? A good amount.
There's a lot more to explain there too.
I like the new
Having this fighter
combat
plane
types, unit
through
types
our
as the game
story,
progresses.
and what's that all
Absolutely.
about?
Yeah.
So this is
I like
on
how
the
every
effective.
era
This
everything
is
gets
a
more
fighter who's
complicated.
on patrol.
So it's easy
If
to
you select
dive
our
in
aircraft
the
carrier,
very
we can
start of the
see
game,
that
and
the
then
units
it
are
gets more
packed into
complex
it.
as you go.
And air units are always packed into a commander. When you have a squadron commander, or when you have an aircraft, it is either in a squadron commander or in the aerodrome itself, which has a sort of commander-esque ability to it. And they can never just deploy out into the map. But when you have a fighter unit in that location, and we have one up here in our squadron commander airbase as well, it is immediately on patrol. That is an anti-air unit. So if other aircraft come into range, it will intercept them, which is traditional
So
for
other
Civ.
players can see, oh, he has fighters up.
Right. Then we also have some bombers here, which are really good at attacking cities, which we're going to use here in just a moment. And then we have another aircraft type, which is new to Civilization 7. We have ground attack aircraft, in this case, a dive bomber. So this unit is really good at attacking other units.
bomber.
I'm really excited about that one.
Absolutely. It's the bomber we wanted to
Right.
specialize in more
3
of an
types of
anti-city
aircraft,
role,
not 2.
anti-defense role,
That's
particularly
cool.
because capturing cities now really big,
Caspam.
means lots of
Caspam
vehicles
has
that you have to
appeared in
attack, so
Civ.
the bomber's really good at doing that, where the dive bomber, the ground attack aircraft, is particularly adept at attacking other units. So we'll go ahead and select that.
And while you do that, I do have an aircraft question from Buffalo Error. He says, does it mean that we can deploy aircraft on missions as in previous games?
You cannot deploy them.
War
out on the
Readiness
map to do
directly
patrol. They
affecting
patrol where
combat
they are.
strength
So
is so
if you have a
big.
squadron commander or
They're
an
patrolling.
aerodrome or an aircraft
That's
carrier that
fair.
patrol that location, you are able to move those units around. So we have our attack.
Poor scout.
Poor scout indeed.
So we can rebase this squadron
brutal.
commander someplace else. So I can take this squadron commander and I can say, this is the rebase action. There are no locations for me to currently rebase it to. Once it goes back to a location, I can then deploy it back out into the map. But if we had an eligible location, we could move it around and then redeploy the
They
squadron
have to be,
commander.
I believe, on flat terrain
in
without
friendly territory.
vegetation
Yep.
in friendly territory.
Right. So.
Oh, okay.
there are
So there's a
rules for where they
few
can go, but
restrictions.
Once they're deployed, that unit will patrol.
It's
got
gotta be built up to be able to use it
deploy
properly.
the squadron commander and create an air base rather than deploying the aircraft itself.
So we just looked at the fleet commander promotions, but the squadron commanders, they have promotions as well, right?
They do, yes. So the squadron commander has a promotion tree that's a little bit smaller with fewer promotions on
So
each
much
tree,
complexity.
and that's because it's modern age only. So each commander
Airlift
has a little bit
operations.
less that it has to worry about because it's around for less time, just one age in this squadron commander case. So we have dogfighting, which is all about anti-air, raids, which is about your bombers and ground attackers, logistics, which is standard for some of the other commanders, a lot of movement-based promotions there. And then airlift operations is really, really cool. It unlocks the ability for land units, infantry, to pack into this commander, and then you can paradrop them out onto the map. And
You
then
can
eventually get the same
paratroop.
thing
Let's
for
go,
cavalry units.
D-Day!
You can deploy the tanks out onto the map.
Amazing.
And then in the middle here, we have a cargo drop that
I
allows
love
you
it.
to do a area heal at range. So this is pretty
Heals
amazing.
land
It can really
unit.
turn the tide of a battle. So squadron commanders, super important. You want to have them
Air support
wow.
is so
air
important
combat with them
now.
so you can get these promotions and then use that to most
Commendation
efficiency.
points. I don't know if we've explained exactly how they work in
That
any of
is
the
so
streams, but how do you
cool.
get to the commendation points down at the bottom?
So to get a commendation, you have to reach the bottom of a promotion tree. So if I were to unlock this promotion, and this promotion, I would get a commendation point. That
Cavalry can be airdropped. Did you see that?
I don't have to get
Cavalry units
every
can be
promotion in a
airdropped.
Tree. I can.
Let me
if
just
I want
drop
to,
some
but to get
tanks
a
on your
commendation
city.
Point, you just have to reach the bottom of a tree, and then I get that commendation point, and I can spend it on any of these commendations here.
But I'd have to get to the bottom of the second tree
in order to get an additional commendation. Yep, exactly. Now this is a little bit different than our
Heal
aircraft
after
carrier,
attacking.
because
Anything that
aircraft carriers do
heals
not
when
have
attacking
airlift
is
operations.
so
It has
broken.
a
Absolutely.
spectrally different promotion tree, which we will look at here in just a moment after we start our bombing on this city. We're going to go ahead and do a carpet bomb, which is a group order to
Use the
command
aircraft
all
barrier to-
bombers in this aircraft carrier to attack the city.
Oh, that's quality of life. They fly off the. Oh,
this
okay, they
is
teleport,
brutal.
but
I love it. Oh, they've sped up the
27 on
animation.
First run.
that's. Oh, clicking one time is huge, by the way.
Powerful.
Yes, it is.
And I love that because in so
Wow.
many of our
Promotion.
previous games, to try to queue up 2 or 3 bomber attacks in a row was click, 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 and now Carl just did it with 1 click. And if he'd had 4 bombers there, they would have all 4 gone.
All
in.
gone. Yep.
Between
that-
and the
that's a
attacking,
huge
the
quality of
commanders are a
life
really
upgrade.
nice
So,
addition to the game.
ships are now heavy and light, but
They
they're
make
still
things more
melee and
streamlined.
ranged?
You know, it's
Because that battleship
you
just
spend more time making
melee
the decisions
attacked and
playing
moving.
the game and not worrying about where you're clicking.
So we've destroyed the district defenses, and there's no defending unit, so I don't actually have a target to attack with our naval unit here. But if they move something up, then we'll do some naval combat as well.
A question from chat: can we use spiders to gain
Looks like a
visibility?
destroyer
over
might have a
large
ranged
parts of the
attack as well.
ocean, or will we have to use naval units if we want visibility?
Aircraft by themselves have a farther line of sight because they're elevated, so they do give you quite a bit of visibility distance, and you can attack something that's in range that's still like very far away. So like I don't know that the fighter will have the range here. Bombers I think have a longer one. Yeah, so I can attack all the way up here.
Wow.
I don't have direct visibility on this tile, but it's within range.
Wow.
So I can, let's go ahead and
you
we'll
missed
just
an
attack
attack
here.
to that
Yep.
naval.
Oh, that's a big range.
And how's the other front of our two?
Oh, it's a
front
dreadnought.
looking?
Yeah, let's go ahead and
Oh,
attack
I
with-
love that there's dreadnoughts in the game.
This one's not looking good for Xerxes. I mean, the other one wasn't either, but
We might have had a bad relationship, but I think we caught him by surprise, perhaps.
surprising Persia leader.
Marines down
That's
at
funny.
the Navigable River.
In comes the tank. The tank does look
Another
nicely
question,
beefy.
I wanna see
Huge on the map.
pillaging.
Bonuses to heavy or light units, and can you specialize?
So heavy units have higher combat strength, slower movement, higher production cost. Light units have lower production cost, lower combat strength, but additional movement. There are only certain places where this appears. Naval is the primary example of that. So if you want a fast, nimble, cheap naval fleet, you want to go light. If you do not mind the longer production times and slower movement, then battleships are far and away the right ship for you.
But I don't think I think to answer that specific question, I don't think there's like an ability that's just with this particular leader,
Right.
their light units
Right.
are better. We you know, this
But it will be
late in the
soon.
game is when we felt the real
That's
need to
absolutely
split it
gonna
out
be a
into the
thing.
separate
Yeah, I mean, I
trip
feel like a
lines. We don't have that
unique
sort of
unit's
throughout
gonna be
the
strong
rest
enough to
of the game,
spam
so
over the heavy,
kinda like-
right?
We want to
But
focus on it more with the World War period.
Right.
We did earn a
World
promotion
War
on our aircraft
period.
carrier, so now we can take a look at that alternative promotion tree, which is carrier operations. This makes
Carrier
the
operations.
more
Oh, I missed
powerful,
that. Aircraft carriers have- are
is
commanders.
This makes the
airdrop
flight deck
while we
bigger.
Can't pack land units into the aircraft carrier.
So wait,
So,
aircraft carriers
you might be
are
wondering
hard
also, like,
built.
what
They're
happens
not
to
like
my air units if I
the
just
commanders
build
that
them
you
back home and I'm
recruit,
trying to build
but they
up
have
my
promotions for the
collection
planes that are
areas,
inside of
and then
them
I'm going to get a carrier online
specifically?
to deploy them there. So we do in this save back near our capital city have a aerodrome, and Carl's going to bring that up in a second.
Let me tell
that army commander had the same general sound. That was funny.
selects. And that was a whole, that, worth noting, that was an entirely packed commander that I moved with the move by rail.
Yeah.
So
Being able to
nice.
drop army
So I believe
commanders.
it's an
Not
18
only making them
range unit
unpack and
an
attack in the same
artillery.
turn, but
Yeah.
also 20
All
tile
moved.
railroad jumping.
Oh
Up to 20
my
mad.
goodness.
That was close to 20 years. It was probably 15 hexes, all with that one operation by rail. Yeah, so combine commanders with rail units. Some of our fans who love railroads, and I know Ursa Ryan's out there.
Let's go.
It's basically going to
He
mean
better be.
you can keep
better be
a
paying
huge army
attention
hidden
because we
in
showed
your
a lot of rail
capital,
movement there.
and then just teleport it
one-
whenever you
one or
need,
two
so you
clicks.
don't need to keep army on a particular
here's
border.
our
It just
aerodrome.
appears.
Okay,
I mean, he
if we
did
click on
literally just
that,
say,
you
I
can
know
see that
someone named
to some
Ursa
extent,
Ryan
it
is going to love
also
this.
set up
So
like the squadron commander was.
It even
where
has
I do.
promotions.
It has
It's really
slots.
cool.
It just
That's
is
so
missing
funny.
that extra contextual tree, which we want to encourage you to build squadron commanders and deploy them. So this is a little bit of a weaker version, but it's not completely.
It's built into this full tile building, though. It's
This
just like the
can't move.
rail station we were talking about before. It's a full tile building
Yep.
in the modern age, built into your city.
The actual
That's where you're
aerodromes
gonna
have
be
promotions.
producing your
Interesting.
aircraft and then
Oh,
sending them off to
wait.
wherever
So there's
So
the
but in this
aerodrome, the
particular
aircraft
case, it looks like we
carrier,
also have a
and
fighter
the
patrolling, making sure our capital is safe.
And here we can see some beautiful
Squad commander?
railroad gates as,
Yeah,
as
they all
the
have
railroad
different
enters our
promotions.
city.
3 different sources of promotions for
Yeah, that is
aircraft.
the like level of detail is.
It looks like there's some
insane.
similarities, but it's
Should
like
we
a
progress
it's like
couple
a
of
skimped
turns?
down
We're gonna
tree.
see-
Yeah, we want to go ahead.
You want to be
take
using
this.
the carriers.
We also want to tell
And
you
the commanders,
what
but
the
the
point of
aerodrome
this
can do
attack
it as
on
well if it needs
Xerxes
to.
is. So we'll need to talk about our military legacy path here in a second as well.
We have so many planes to use.
Too many planes. Oh
Yeah, maybe
no.
Carl could just hop into those legacy paths too and check
Sure.
it out.
So we talked before about how
Yeah, Carl,
Xerxes
stop playing. Come
is,
on. Sure.
Following a different ideology than we are. So let's go to the military legacy path, and we'll see that this is called what we call the ideology legacy path. And
20
you
ideology
gain
points from
points
conquering
on
settlements for the
this
first
legacy
time.
path by conquering foreign settlements. They can be ones that I mean maybe there's been a
So
war
you actually
where,
pick sides
you've
with the
lost a couple
ideology.
settlements and you have to take them back. That counts for you. So if you think about the historical World War II, the Allies didn't conquer a lot of
Unlocks
things permanently.
Operation
a lot of it was
Ivy
taking
victory
back
condition.
stuff that
What?
they had lost to their opponents. All this type of success in combat.
think we found
helps
our
you in
nukes.
this legacy path.
Well,
But
thermo
think-
nukes.
moved
So
further down this legacy
if
path
mon-
if you are fighting those wars against your ideological opponents.
Yep.
So it's one.
I love how
point
it's structured to not
for
be like
each
the definitive
settlement
victory
you
condition like
conquer
we think
before
about, because
you even
they're
have
going to
an
add a
ideology.
4th era
2
at some
points if
point.
you have an ideology.
So it's like just
but you're
get to
not
nukes,
fighting
and that's your
one of
victory condition.
Ideological opponents.
Or use
and
nuke
then
probably.
3 points per
Probably
conquest
use a nuke.
when you conquer a city against.
Because that
one
could
of
be
your
easily
ideological
adapted
opponents.
into a
Yes, you're about to score a couple of these. I think.
4th era,
so, yeah.
You
like
might get
you know,
6 in a hurry here.
as
think you're
opposed to
absolutely on
conquer
it.
the whole world
And
by
so
the end of the
20
modern,
points,
because that's
you
a
know, might
that's
seem
just
like
a, that's
it's
a dead end, you know.
hefty thing
Yeah.
to do, but
It can
it's
rack
achievable.
up.
Yep.
Right.
And then while we're here, do we want to look at science?
Yep. So we have a 4th legacy path, and that is in modern age called space race. So
First staff space
Civ
flight.
has traditionally always had a science victory that was a
There we
rocket
go.
ship
All 3
blasting
space
off
race
into
projects.
space and
3
showing
projects.
The forward progress and momentum of humankind.
Transoceanic
being able
Flight
to
Project is the first
start
one.
thinking about getting out in space and colonizing
Oh.
the stars. And so Civ 7 is no different. We have a
it's
number
gonna be that,
of
then probably
projects that are
unmanned,
all
and then
related
manned.
to flight. And so you'll see there's a transoceanic flight project, which is the first milestone along that path that's
That's huge.
mentioned here by the
Yeah.
advisor.
That makes sense for modern era
so
too.
Since we've already built
Yeah.
the aerodrome, we actually could go ahead and start working on that at
Yeah.
this point right now. But once you have all 3 of those space race projects completed, then you
So
are
you don't need a
eligible
spaceport.
to finish
It's the
this
aerodrome
legacy
that does it.
path, with a victory. So we'll talk about victories just at the very end here, but
The first project, there's probably a spaceport. There is a spaceport, right, for the next
Right.
2 projects,
And a
right?
question
We've
from
seen that in
Could be.
Jay,
so
are there
we've seen that in
ways to
videos.
approach
Yeah,
each
yeah, yeah.
victory type? For instance, is the culture victory winnable with means other than archaeology?
So you're going to have to use archaeology to set it up. But one thing that's really important that this question alludes to is it's your progress through all 3 ages that helps you towards these victory types. So at the end of each victory, and we'll just go into it now because it's
Yeah, why
relevant
not?
to the text. At the end of each of the legacy paths, you unlock the victory. And what we've always thought about is how best does a Civ game end? And we've thought about Civ games throughout the entire history of the franchise, and it's always something really cool, really special, really momentous that you do that triggers the victory. That always feels the best. So whether it was blasting
They're
that
going to have
rocket off of
projects
the
to
stage,
finish, aren't they?
or winning a military victory by
Winning
conquering
tourism on
that
a
last
random turn doesn't
capital,
really feel.
something like that
you know.
always felt
Yeah.
good as the way to culminate your victory. And so what our design team has done, and I applaud the folks who worked on this because it was a really cool solution, is we're racking up all these legacy points, but we didn't want it to be just a victory based on a score. We wanted the player to get a chance to feel that great sense of accomplishment. So at the end of every legacy path, you unlock a victory, and a victory is always sort of a special project you have to undertake to get that dramatic moment, and that will be a sudden death victory once you achieve that. So we're going to have a whole designer diary coming up in around the time of launch, I think it is.
Yep.
That's going to go into victories in a lot of detail. But one good example of that is when you finish the cultural path, that's going to unlock the World's Fair project.
Nice.
You can start working on building the World's Fair. But how long does that take? It actually, it's a pretty hefty project. It takes a while. But every legacy point that you've earned towards culture in any of the ages is going to speed that up. So if you've been a culture player all along, you're just going to be able to push over that final finish line a little bit faster.
So this is where
than
the
players
ages
like
feed into each other
just
quite
made
a lot.
last minute switch into culture.
Right.
And all the legacy paths are set up that way. We looked at the ideology one, and that one you're building Operation Ivy, which is going to get you nuclear capabilities. And we're not going to show nukes right here, but there is some
no
nuclear
nukes yet.
technology in our game here. And Operation Ivy is sort of the way to show that you are, that's historically where they evolved from the atomic weaponry of the Manhattan Project up to thermonuclear. And so that's sort of saying that you're the dominant military power and you've won that victory.
So you can probably
And as
use
you mentioned,
atomic
we are
nuclear
gonna have a
weapons,
developer
but the
diary on
victory
the
condition
topic,
is
so we'll
the
be diving
thermonukes.
into more detail with that. But I do have
It's
a
like,
question.
we have
what
this,
happens if the third
don't
age
challenge us.
finishes
Yeah.
before anyone gets a victory condition?
I like that
So
every victory condition
that
is a
is something that
definitive
we thought about,
project that you
something
have to
can
finish.
happen, and this will actually happen to you. The same type of system kicks in if you are playing a single age game. So for instance, I'm just playing an antiquity game. Then the victories, which we've shown, which are only present here in the modern age, are not available in those single age games, and it's all about who's accumulated the most legacy points. So there's a tracker on the victory panels that we've been
Right.
showing that
So it's
shows
basically a score
legacy
victory
points
if you
accumulated
play
throughout all the ages,
single age
and you
games.
just will be
Which
able to
makes
tell who's
sense,
gonna be
yeah.
better that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that
Because-
then we do end up going to points, and that's been
Cities
traditional
are
for Civ
very
games, is that
easy to kill.
There are
Yeah, you
points
need
being
to man your
tallied in the
cities, it
background,
seems
and
like.
if you need to, if you run out of time, the
Which
time limit
might mean the AI
situation,
might
the
not
time
be good
limit
at
victory
doing
is always
that.
important.
But he just killed a unit in a city.
Catch us up.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I'm capturing cities. So we've already taken 2. So if we take a look at our victory progress, we can see we've made a bunch of points here, just like you were saying.
So I think the idea of
3
city
points
capturing is you got to kill the units in the cities, and then
Yeah,
you can
so
walk
we're
in and
well on
take
our
the
way to
city.
capturing Xerxes.
Right?
Now, how big an empire does Xerxes have? If we were going to try to take him out,
It's quite
He has
similar.
14 more
It's
settlements.
just more like the health of the city seems to be
He's
quite
spread
low.
out quite a bit,
Yes,
yeah.
he is.
Does the city even have a health? Because it doesn't have walls,
Yes.
right?
most of them are in our
It's- yeah, the
continent, or
walls
does he
had
have them
health, I
spread
think.
out?
There's-
They had a
but-
health bar when the units were attacking them.
But
I
does
don't
that
see a lot
city
over
have
here.
walls? I don't see any walls on
I
it.
don't think he has very many
It
here. It's mostly on
did,
this
but they're gone
landmass.
now.
Oh, okay,
Which
that's
means
fair.
it can be driven into.
Well, one more question
Right,
we
he
have.
bombed
Are the
it.
victories balanced
Yep.
to each other
They
when
be
following
dead.
Civ 6?
That's like when
Is it
Roman
based on
Holiday said, "I
culture?
can't believe you never settled on the coast," and I was like, "Oh yeah."
Victories.
So we like to think they're balanced. We've been spending a lot of time working on the balance,
Yeah.
but we know the way the Civ community digs in and really attacks
We're gonna
problems
break it.
and finds optimal paths through the game. So
Yep.
balance is something
Yep.
that we're
We
going
will
to
break it,
continue
don't
to
worry.
look at throughout the lifespan of Civ 7. It's an area where we're not going to expect to get it
They
perfectly.
might patch it
with
if you
all
if you
the
do too well. It's a
cool
warning.
little maneuvers that our fans will come up with, taking into
Ursa
account.
Ryan, I challenge you
it'll
to
be
make them
something
patch
that
the
we're
game.
working on all the time.
We learn from our community.
We can do
The
that.
one thing
Challenge
you'll
accepted.
see about these victories is almost all of them translate into sort of a progress track where you have to get a score. And so it's super easy to balance them just by making a few more score required or a few less. So balanceable, absolutely. Perfectly balanced, we'll see.
Right. That is fair. Well, I think just given the breadth of Xerxes' empire, perhaps perhaps we can look to the future and say we could get there, but it might take us
like
quite
you're
a bit.
having fun.
I am having fun, yeah.
Well, I think
Stop it,
anything else
Carl.
you guys want to touch on, or are we ready to go?
I think we're ready to go.
All right. Well, that was the modern age, and again, just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
We got to show off some cool things with railroads, naval
There you
air
go.
combat.
They're
so
done. They're
much to this
prompt.
age, and we can't wait for you to play it. February 11th is coming up so soon. And again, like I said, you could play even earlier, February
Less than 60
6th,
days.
if you pre-order the game. And that's day and date on PC and console, cross-play, cross-save. Really exciting stuff. Don't forget to follow the Civ socials. We're constantly sending through updates there. We have some new things that are coming out with this live stream, including a first look, as you saw, for Ben Franklin and for Harriet Tubman. We have new game guides for them, a new game guide for America, and as we mentioned before, we have that really awesome dev diary coming out tomorrow on combat. Ed and Carl, thank you so much for being here today.
Most welcome.
Yeah, our pleasure.
It was awesome. I'm gonna play you guys out with our performance last week at the Game Awards. We premiered the main theme of Civilization VII, Live Gloriously, composed by none other than Christopher Tin. Here it is.
Amazing.
A banger.
So Ursa, I think that to recap, I think there's like a few like really important things as we listen to like this roll us out. First of all, there's
I'm
not
gonna
only
have to turn it down.
Yeah, same. I did too. It's not only multiple personas so you have separate leaders per civilization. We also know that there's gonna be multiple leaders per civilization because America has 2 leaders. There's going to be 31 civilizations on launch, but there's gonna be 26 leaders on launch, and then
so not every civ will have a leader, but most of them will.
Yeah, most of them. And then we have the idea that there's going to be so the first era has commanders for military. The second era introduces then fleet commanders for your navy, and the third era introduces commanders for your air force. This 3-tier like always getting more complicated warfare. Seems really, really awesome. There's I think we could say like there's a lot of cities. You can have a huge city cap by the end of the game, so like that's something to look forward to. You don't have to be forced to play tall. We also know that there's victory conditions that are tied specifically to doing a final project at the end, which
seems like all of them have some sort of project you need to get your teeth into.
Yeah, so each era has these objectives that you're doing, so you always know what you should be doing and how to attain that, and all of those objectives lead up to that final project, which is really cool. That final project is only if you play the full game. If you only play the era, it's just the point system. But that makes sense because that also means that, as they said, the modern era ends as you predicted at the end of the World War Cold era, and it ends early compared to other Civ games, meaning that they're working on in a DLC extending and making a 4th era, which they kind of said they didn't say it very definitively, but it was like pretty much there. Like, so they're working on the first 3 eras to really solidify the game and get it figured out, and then they can expand it as Civ always does.
I don't mind a more condensed launch that works properly.
Yeah, you have to, because not only as the game developers, and they can focus on specific mechanics and get them right, but also us as players, we can focus on some smaller mechanics before we get jumping into the whole big thing. Like Civ 6, there's so many leaders, so many choices, so many mechanics that are all very complicated. So we get to grow with the game as as the game develops, which is super cool. And also, you can move that final capstone victory project to a different era easily because it's not technically locked to the modern era when they do that. Obviously, that's
easy to do. You could just either remove those projects or keep the projects in and give them a bonus within that age, and then you can crack on, or they could just remove the projects entirely. There's multiple options of what you could do on that.
Yeah. So like I don't know. That's super exciting to me.
Yeah.
Is there anything I missed there that you want to also highlight?
No, that's really good. I mean, I love the fact that the railroads have now become much more integrated, not just into the victory, but also into the economics of the city, right? Because that was sort of present in Civ 5, where if you put rail between your cities, you had a production bonus, not only the gold bonus that came with the roads before, it was an actual physical bonus. And now it looks like not only districts and quarters and buildings are all connected to it, and America is specifically connected to it as well. But you've also then got the whole resource system, which is tuned in and balanced based on the fact that you've got rail. So it seems really important now. And also in the military, not only can you pack 5 or 6 units within a commander, but now you can teleport them from your empire center right onto the front lines, unpack them, attack in the same turn. Multiplayer is going to be a frightening thing. Imagine being surprise ward, right? And then suddenly 3 commanders teleport via rail and then unpack and attack you with howitzers and tanks and whatever.
Surprise wars are going to be so intense. Wars in general are going to be intense. It's going to be so, every era gets more and more complicated too, which is just so fun.
Yeah. And I think they've left the door open to some really interesting takes on Age 4. I assume information, or like future information, whatever you'd call it. But
I would say
everything from social media to internet to space projects to satellites. We haven't seen anything to do with satellites.
The space project did have satellites, I believe, in the modern era.
Yeah.
So it was there was 3 parts to the space victory. The first project was the transatlantic flight, just flying from one continent to the other, which is I love that is in the science victory now, because obviously huge not only is flight so important, and that project of flying across the Atlantic was so important in history, it also means that they can shift the whole science victory earlier to reflect the modern era and what was important in the modern era, and that was flight. I think the second project was the I think you said first unmanned and then the first manned. I'm assuming the first manned project, the first project is going to be the satellite, and the second project is going to be the moon.
So what I was saying in terms of satellites is, again, wild predictions, but I think in Age 4, my prediction here and now is that they will bring in a satellite system from the sort of vibe of Beyond Earth, where satellites could be put on a layer above the map and then interacted with the map below them. And that could be a way of integrating the technology side of things, right? The internet, the GPS, whatever it is.
Space commanders.
And you could have space commanders. I saw a comment on that earlier. Maybe space commanders are the Age 4 thing. I don't know.
That could be interesting. I mean, so maybe they have another commander, right? Because they have a commander for every era. Or maybe they just have it's all espionage. You can see the map. You can see a lot more that's going on, and that can help in your war efforts as well if you can see what's going on. And
Age 4 is meme commanders. Yes, absolutely.
I'm excited. I'm super excited. It's funny because they decided to split the game into 3 eras, specifically not tell us how long each era was, get us used to the idea that there's only going to be 3 eras. So it's not like Humankind where you're constantly switching. So you have 3 distinct eras to focus on, and 3, of course, is just a good number. And then not tell us until now that there might be a 4th, but eventually. But first, the launch game is going to focus on the 3.
Yeah. And did you see the release of the first 2 waves of DLC as well? The first DLC is coming out literally in March, I think.
That's so fast.
And the second one is coming out between April, and then it's 4 months after that or something. So
are these?
And they'll be in waves as well. So in March we're going to have 6 new drops within a 4-week period, and then it'll sort of. So the development cycle looks pretty intense already.
The content creation cycle is going. The audience, the direct involvement is going to be so big at 2025. That's going to be so cool.
Yeah. It'd be really, really interesting. There's a huge amount that I've seen there that I'm quite excited about. I think Franklin maybe isn't as powerful as I maybe thought from the start. If it's just production buildings that all of his abilities apply to, fine, that's okay. I still think influence, I called this quite early. I think influence is an incredibly useful resource. And that's convinced me even more seeing a lot of those interactions in action. Influence is going to be, especially early game, like a make or break thing.
Like, not only are you spending influence on doing projects together to do like your research grants together and do all those kind of stuff, but you also use influence to not only ask people to join wars, but also add combat strength to your own units based off of which side the world favors. Like, that is so important and so
you can
big.
mess with the map, right? You could just go, oh, 2 AI are fighting and I'd rather my ally did well. I'll just dump a load of influence there, and oh look, they're probably going to win the match because they've got tons of combat strength.
Can you wait? Sorry, I want to quickly, like, the influence is something you spend, but can other players spend their influence to influence?
Now, I don't know if that's a totally unconnected proxy war feature, or if you then join a war and then multiple people in the same war can all join in.
Oh my goodness.
But there is an ability to join in on your allies' wars and just dump influence there in order to increase war support.
So world wars
are going to be a huge thing. Yeah. My other call on this, and I'm just predicting to the future, right? The other thing that I did notice on a couple of other streams, and this stream again has underlined that, cities look to be incredibly weak, not only to artillery and howitzers and battleships, but also to air forces. I think cities are going to be very vulnerable targets and very easily attacked.
Yes.
I can see attacking being way, way easier than defending, and I can see the units spam on the map. Like, I can see that the meta is going to be carpet the map so that you can't get units close. Because I think having stacks of powerful units has gone. I think this has gone back to sort of Civ 5 levels of 1 unit per tile, stacking them all out, having hundreds and hundreds of units just throwing forwards. I can see multiplayer becoming that pretty quickly.
Focusing on the military and manning the defenses over my city is just untouchable because I have steel. You know, like that's absolutely. Like, I feel like that's way better. You know, you build walls and all of a sudden you're untouchable. Like, that's super cool to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I still, my only reservations, I still think some of the UI and the map, it does look quite dark, especially with the way that the fog of war has been introduced.
Yes. I want to talk about this specifically because there's something very specific that I saw. I said in Civ 6, you have the small icons, and then when it gets big, you get the satisfying, this is a culture on this tile. Those big icons are back, but they need to be saturated. It's very muted right now, and the colors are very drab.
Did you notice?
And
so,
the
beacon
you're right.
was blue on black, but what it needs to have is a blue background with another different blue on the top, so you can see the blue circle. Like, that's what Civ 6 did really well.
Yeah, Civ 6 did the color really well, obviously because it's very cartoony. This is going way more realistic, but the colors in the UI specifically need to still be bright because you can have a nice realistic looking, like all the troops can look realistic. They can have like a pretty uniform color scheme, but you need the yields to pop.
Yeah,
much.
They don't jump as much as they should.
I say as the guy with pink hair that is currently popping right now on my screen.
It's fine. I've got a bright Santa hat on. I'm not a man of
style. That's beautiful.
Yeah, no, I still think the darkness of it, and especially with some of the menus, they need to introduce. I noticed in one of the social policy menus, and then actually in the leader menu when someone was picking attribute points for the leaders. The only thing that identified that an option had already been taken was a tiny little tick in the corner of it. Whereas you need to make that whole thing pop a different color. Like, this is what I've chosen, and it's activated. Like, a button gets pushed down and the whole thing changes color, rather than just like a tiny little tick in the corner. So I would say that possibly needs looking at as well. But I do love the map. The map looks really pretty.
Oh, yeah, the graphic, like,
yeah.
The moment that the first reveal came, I was like, my jaw dropped. The leaders, we could, they've been improving for sure. Some of the leaders I really like. Some of them I still don't like. I think those can still be they don't have to shift those very far, because like I miss the Civ 6, caricature leaders, but it makes sense to have more realistic body proportions on those types of things in terms of this Civ 7.
And people forget about Civ 6 leaders as well. The variation in quality is huge in them.
Absolutely,
some of the early leaders were so much better than some of the late leaders. The late leaders were basically, you could just see where they were copying assets from the old ones.
Oh yeah. When Caesar came out, I was like, this guy looks funny.
I mean, his hands alone could bathe the world in glory.
He also literally had copy and pasted Trade as Arbor, so it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I think that will be something that they work on with time. UI is of course one of the last steps, so they've always had the least amount of time to do all the stuff that they're working on. We'll see what changes and what doesn't. We can always say as content creators what we like and what we don't like. I think there's a few things. I think the leaders facing each other screen is not going away. I
don't mind that. I honestly don't mind that. I can see why people find it funny because it's very different. But ultimately, of all of the screens I looked at least in Civ, that was one that just did not bother me. I'm
getting more used to it. I think Bose puts an interesting perspective on it, where he's like, why is he talking to that person? He should be talking to me. Like, I'm the leader, And even if I could see Ben Franklin on the left side and I know I'm Ben Franklin, it doesn't feel the same way. It's not as gripping and motivating as a player.
Is that the leader now has its own skill tree, right? You are actually upgrading and promoting the leader as an object, as an asset that you have under your control. So I do see that argument, though. I can see it both ways, but Speaking of
Bose's opinions on Civ, he just raided. So hi, Bose. Hi, everyone. We're doing a little stream with Ursa Ryan. Ursa Ryan felt really bad for killing me in Civ. No, just
you just wait.
We're having a fun day bouncing ideas. Ursa Ryan and I, we've been having great days lately. So
good. It has been good, and I look forward to seeing my horrible creation. Well, I mean, speaking of, do you have any last take? Because I will probably be disappearing very soon because I do need to rush this evening.
I also do need to run. I also have to get back to work. But for those people that just rated in, make sure you, of course, go to Ursa Ryan's YouTube channel. You can go to my YouTube channel,
and White Nerdy.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a lot of thoughts. If you want to see our reactions to everything that just happened, you can go to our YouTube channels. That's going to be on all of our VODs. You can watch it at your own pace. You can also skip to the very end where we did actually a pretty good summary of what we thought. If you just want to see...
You did a good summary. I just nodded.
Hey, you were like, but railroads. And you're like, you're right, I forgot. So, Indeed. Yeah, definitely go to the end of the VOD. I think we said some really important things. And there's been some really, really cool stuff about Civ 7, and I'm so excited. I've been getting. I think we were saying earlier, everyone was a little bit hesitant when some things were first announced, and we've been getting progressively more and more on board, and more excited, and more like fully behind what's going on.
I cannot wait. I just want it to release, and I want to play it properly.
Bye, Bose.
With my own time. And I can't wait. It's gonna be really, really fun. Well, thank you so much for joining me on stream. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Of course. Thank you for accepting the invite to do this together. It's awesome.
No, not at all. And here is to the next horrific multiplayer game. And hi, Bose, as well. I know. Sorry, Bose, we'll hook you all up next time as well.
By the way, Ursa, there's a few multiplayer games happening this weekend, so if you have the free time, let me know.
Well, some of the details we shall see.
All right. Hey, thank you so much.
See you later, everyone. Have a good evening. Thank you so much, White Nerdy. I've got to run, but it's been a pleasure. See you later. Bye.
Bye. Alrighty. Hey, that is fantastic. I'm super happy with everything that's happened today. I'm super happy with what was announced. I'm super happy with how this went, how we chatted. Guys, remember, for those that just came from Bose, go to the YouTube channel. There's a link right there. Also, obviously, I think most of you know Ursa Ryan already. But if you don't know me, I'm whiteandnerdytv. I do a lot of Civ stuff, and there's gonna be a lot of Civ 7 stuff. So follow here on Twitch, subscribe on YouTube, all of this stuff, and I'm super excited. We're gonna have to pull out the higher level mod. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, guys, I'm gonna end it here too. We're all wrapping up, but thank you so much. This has been a very fun day, and I will see you on stream on Thursday, on Twitch. And then there's also a lot of multiplayer happening. Both on Friday, there's gonna be a more unstructured classic multiplayer game with a bunch of people from our community. It's already like a 10-player game. It's massive, a bunch of really, really strong players. And I'm super excited to be playing with them. Players that are better than me, and seeing where that goes. There's also going to be a bigger multiplayer Sunday event, which includes somebody with a spectator being able to see the entire map, kind of like we do for CivGive, but it's more of a small multiplayer game. I don't know who's all involved with that yet, but that is, of course, the California Open hosted by our community friend, Mikeman, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So stick around for all of those. If you want Civ 6 content, if you want Civ 7 content, if you want the other content I still have to do for a couple of CivGive rewards, then obviously stick around for those. All right, guys. Bye-bye.